Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Sacramento City Council. Ms. Cuppy, if you'd please call the roll. Let's establish a quorum for our first meeting of 2018.
Thank you. Councilmember Warren. Here. Councilmember Harris. Here. Councilmember Hanson. Here. Councilmember Carr. Here. Vice Mayor Jennings. Here. Councilmember Chenier. Here. And Mayor Steinberg.
Here.
And for the record, Councilmember Ashby and Councilmember Guerra will be absent this evening.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Happy New Year to everybody and welcome back. We hope everybody had wonderful holidays and that this new year brings you and our city many great things. You can't hear?
We're good.
Happy New Year to everyone. I hope you had great holidays. Wish you all a great 2018, not only personally, but for our city. And I want to welcome you back to what I know will be a great year. Let us begin with the Pledge of Allegiance tonight and rise. And I would ask Vice Mayor Jennings, please, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right on. Okay. We have one special presentation, and then we will take public comments on matters not on the agenda. I know we have a lot of young people here tonight who are here to exercise their constitutional right to come speak to their elected officials. That will come under public comments on matters not on the agenda in just a moment. First, we have a
quick closed session report out.
We have a quick closed session report out. Yes, Mr. Ruyak, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two items to report out tonight. In closed session, the City Council authorized the City Attorney to seek appellate review in the matter of Petrovich Development, LLC versus the City of Sacramento, Sacramento Court Case Number 34-2016-80002289, by the vote of 6-0, with members Ashby, Chenier, and Guerra being absent. And then in closed session, the City Council also authorized the City Attorney or the City to enter as amicus curiae in the matter of Janus versus American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, United States Supreme Court Case Number 16-1466, but also by a vote of 6-0, with members Ashby, Chenier, and Guerra being absent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ruyak. We now go to a special presentation. I turn the mic over to Vice Mayor Jennings.
Thank you, Mayor. To the Mayor and to the City Council and to the public. On November the 20th of 2017, I had the honor of being in the presence of a young man who I'm going to bring to the podium, and his name is Andrew Evans. I'd like him to come down, if you will. And before I tell you what an honor it was for me to be in his presence, I want to give you a little bit of background. What I know about him is that he has been a member of Troop 380 for approximately 12 years. I know that he is a freshman at Colorado Christian University. I know that his parents, who I'm going to ask to come up by his side, Marianne and Michael, they're in the audience. I'd like for them to come up and be by his side as we talk about him. I also know that he has a sister by the name of Amy Ann, and if she's here, I'd love her to come up as well. Okay, she's not here with us. That's fine.
That's a great camp.
Okay. I know that this young man, even though he's at school at Colorado Christian University, he's also an assistant scout master in Colorado while he's in school as well. And so this is what I know about him from a background standpoint. But the honor I had of being with him on November the 20th was to see him presented with the highest medal of honor, and that's the Cross Palm Medal of Honor. This is the highest level of heroism awarded to a scout or leaders of the Boy Scouts of America. I had the honor of seeing him get that award, and I wanted to bring him to the council and to the entire city of Sacramento, because I wanted them to feel the same joy and honor and encouragement that I felt that night when I saw him awarded with this honor. We are here tonight to honor Andrew and share his story of selflessness. Andrew risked his life during a 12-day backpacking trip in the mountains of New Mexico. A flash flood unexpectedly caught him and his fellow scouts without warning. Unfortunately, one scout was swept away, but it is felt that because of Andrew's actions, him moving to the moment, that it prevented more loss of life at that point in time. This is a story of selflessness, of putting others first, of being a leader, of stepping up to the challenge. And I wanted all of us to feel what I felt on that night of November the 20th, of honoring him with the city's highest honor, of bringing him in front of us and letting the public know how much we love and respect what he did at that moment. I want to give him a big round of applause. I have a certificate of recognition that I'd like to give to you, honoring you on this 9th day of January 2018. I know that if I asked you to say something that you probably would look at me and say, what would you say?
Thank you to all my fellow troop members and for everyone being here tonight.
And I just want to let you know that all the young men and young women who are in the background, who are here with you tonight to support you, they're watching every single step that you make. And there's no question in my mind that when given the opportunity to be a hero like you, they will step up to the challenge because they saw a hero and they want to be just like you. So another big round for Andrew Evans. As I come down, I'd like the entire troop to come down so we can get a picture of the entire troop with him being presented with this certificate of recognition, if you will.
You know, I want to thank you, Vice Mayor Jennings, for bringing this forward. And man, I'd be interested in really hearing your story. I was thinking about, you know, there's this guy named Clint Eastwood who's doing a feature film on 3 Sacramento heroes who saved a lot of lives over in Europe. Maybe there ought to be a sequel, because it sounds like you saved a lot of lives. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Should we all, what should we do? Do you want us to, we're good? We'll all stand here. Hi, proud mom. Congratulations, proud Ben. Congratulations to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I forgot to mention that the role models that have influenced Andrew all of his life, many of them are right here in the audience. Please give them a round of applause as well.
Okay, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Get some of these other photographers.
Yeah. Pictures?
We got others.
Dennis, get out of the way.
He's still standing. One more.
One more.
Very good. Thank you, Andrew. Very much. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, Fred.
Okay, we do have public testimony on items not on the agenda. But I think I'm going to interpose, if I might, just a point of privilege here. I don't know if I want to start at every meeting with this, but at least every several meetings, and that is to give the members of the public and those who are here, those who are watching, a little bit of an update on our whole person care pilot, because we are keeping statistics on a weekly basis, and it's important for the public to know that whole person care, which is our $64 million intensive outreach and case management approach to the chronically homeless population, in the pre-enrollment phase, because it actually doesn't fully kick off until April, we have enrolled 257 homeless Sacramentans into our Pathway program. It has required 1,185 interactions, what we call touches, with these 257 people, because some people are initially reluctant to get help and care and treatment. The geographic reach of the outreach, 238 from the north area, where we are focusing a lot of attention given the opening of the Railroad Avenue triage shelter. Those numbers are going to grow into the thousands as we begin ramping up full implementation of whole person care. So I wanted the public to know that, the numbers are not yet significant enough, but it is very strong and a good beginning. I know Emily Halkin, our homeless services coordinator, is going to provide a full report within a couple of weeks that will break down these details, and I'm sure with increased numbers over the next couple of weeks. That's how I wanted to start tonight. So thank you. Let's hear public testimony for items not on the agenda.
Thank you. I have 25 speakers for matters not on the agenda, and also a group from Phoebe Hurst Robotic. So our first speaker is Elizabeth Drake and Tammy Smith.
My name is Destiny Tobeck. I'll be speaking on behalf of Elizabeth Drake, a letter that she wrote for you guys. Hi, my name is Elizabeth K. Drake. I am a woman who is living with CP and on Section 8. It is very hard for me to find something that meets my needs. I have a cat who is like my kid that helps me be more relaxed, and because I cannot find housing that allows cats or pets, I am away from him all day, every day. Finding a house wheelchair accessible is a struggle as well. I have my own washer and dryer. I also need around-the-clock staff, even overnight. If there was a fire, they need to be able to get me out the house fast. The point I'm trying to make is, with the income and my disability, it is very hard on me. I am glad to be able to have a voice and come and give this talk to you today. And she's also been looking for over a year and a half.
I'm sorry, it was hard for me to hear a lot of that. I apologize. I just want to make sure that I hear. Is there an ask or request of the city council of the city?
More affordable housing and landlords that will actually take housing choice voucher, and landlords that don't require you to have 3 times the income for the rent when they live off Section 8 or live off SSI, because SSI will never be 3 times the income.
And your friend's name?
This is Elizabeth Drake. She goes by Libby.
Elizabeth is housed, I hope?
Currently, it's not ideal because she has a housing choice voucher that we've been trying to find for a year and a half. Anybody who will at least have an opening to allow her to move in. And City of Sacramento, most landlords are now declining because they said they've reached their max. So they won't take anymore. So currently she is living with 2 other people in a similar predicament in a house that they can't afford. And our agency has been helping eat the cost.
What agency?
STEP, Strategies to Empower People. So what originally happened is she had a place and she was moving because she found another location. Well, that place decided that they're no longer taking housing choice voucher. And her landlord at the time said, well, too bad. you still have to move out because we're going to remodel the place and jack up the rent. That was August 2016. Now, I say this as the fact that I'm a program manager at my agency. I have 8 other people in the exact same predicament right now that are probably going to lose their housing choice voucher because they don't find a place in the allotted amount of time. And then they have to file for an extension. Libby is currently at her 5th extension, and that's because they made an error. Otherwise, they weren't going to continue her extension. They said, you don't find a place in time, you're bad, you're out of luck. Even though she waited 3 years on the wait list to get her name drawn. So when I say this, it's only because it's not just Libby. Libby's the only one I could get here today. I have 8 people in my unit alone. That is not including other agencies that support people with disabilities. That's just out of the 80 people on my unit that are dealing with this right now.
Thank you.
If at all possible, please get landlords to accept Section 8, not require 3 times the rent, and accessible housing would be a good one because...
Would you call my office tomorrow and make an appointment, please, to come in and see me? I'd
Thank-
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay? I'd like to see you. Okay? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Maybe take care. Next.
So our next group is the Phoebe Hurst Robotics Group. I have Nathan McGill, Jolie Dang. Please come up to the microphone. Amelia Gordon, Jack Steen, Ruby Traigsteel, Harrison Ziberg, Diego Martinez Vaughn, and Jang Ibrahim.
I want everybody to go. Everybody. Good evening. My name is Nate McGill. I'm the principal of Phoebe Hurst Elementary School in East Sacramento. I'm here to introduce a pretty remarkable group of 4th and 5th graders. They are known as the reigning Phoebots in robotics circles. This is the first team in school history to get to the championship level of the Northern California First Lego League Finals. This year's theme is hydrodynamics, so the kids learned about the human water cycle and specifically about how water is delivered in Sacramento. The group was tasked with coming up with an innovative solution in the water cycle, which they'll share with you. I'll preface their presentation by saying that the STEM opportunity at Phoebe Hurst has compelled our kids to learn about, reflect on, and interact with the world that surrounds them. And witnessing them doing that has been a real inspiration to all the adults. So thank you. Good luck.
Well, welcome to all of you. So the rule is, just so you know, that we give public speakers who don't have specific items on the agenda 2 minutes to speak. And so how would you guys like to organize your presentation?
In the order we're at.
In the order you're at, okay. We'll go ahead. Go ahead. Welcome.
Hello, we are the reigning Phoebots. We are 4th and 5th graders from Phoebe Hurst Elementary in Sacramento. Hello, my name is Jolie. We focused on the problem of drought and how so much water is only being used once, even though it can safely be reused. A drought is a period of water shortage that can be caused by either natural or human causes. We are now just coming out of a drought in California that lasted over 5 years. Droughts may be part of the climate in California, but since it is getting warmer on Earth, we may experience drought conditions again. According to the United States Geological Survey's California Water Science Center, during drought, the flow of surface water declines. If it is too hot for the snow to fall in the Sierras again, the surface water levels will be low, like they were during the drought. Thank you.
Excellent.
My name is Amelia. 85% of water that we use in our houses in Sacramento comes from surface water, so during a drought, there can be impacts to our water supply. We learned about where water comes from when we went on a site visit of our city's water treatment plant. We started at the Sacramento Intake Facility, which is a big building actually right on the American River. The water flows from the river and is pumped up into pipes at the intake facility. From there, it travels through pipes to the water treatment plant to be treated. We walked through every step of the water treatment process with our great guide, Amy Kroll, who is the plant manager. We saw the water start out with a high turbidity when it still had particles from the river. At the end of the process, we saw basins full of clean and super clear water. Water treatment costs money. It requires workers, buildings, lots of pipes and other materials to clean surface water to make it potable water. Thank you.
My name is Jack. According to an article from the Earth Institute at Columbia University, our country spends billions of dollars treating water to drinking water quality when we only use 10% of it for drinking and cooking. Then we just flush the rest down the toilet or drain. Since the problem of the drought could come back, we came up with a solution to collect gray water so we didn't have to waste all of the clean, treated water that is in our houses. Gray water is wastewater from washing machines, sinks, showers, and baths. This water doesn't just have to go down the pipes because it can be reused for flushing toilets and watering some of our plants. We wanted to maximize our clean water usage for drinking and some activities that you really need high quality water for. For our solution, there will be pipes leading from the washing machine, sinks, showers, and baths to a water tank in the side of the house. The pipes will take water from these places in the house into the tank. The gray water will flow into the top of the tank and then go through a filter to catch some of the particles and improve the turbidity. Materials like soap bubbles and some food will be caught in the filter. Then reusable gray water will be pumped out of pipes to the toilets and for landscaping. Thank you.
You.
My name is Ruby. There are some gray water systems available that try to do something similar, but most of them require complex pipe systems and valves that people have to use to control the flow and direction of water. In one system we saw, water from a shower flows directly through a pipe to the toilet, but that could produce too much water. And in that system, there is not a way to store the gray water. Also, those systems do not have a filter like ours. We cannot totally solve the problem of drought since our climate is changing, but we can solve one drought-related problem by saving the pressure-treated drinking water for drinking and not wasting it on all household uses. If people use a gray water system, we will be ready for the next drought period when access to surface water might be impacted. Thank you.
My name is Harrison. We went to the state capitol last week to meet with State Senator Dr. Richard Pan. We also talked with legislative committee staff who are experts on water use, natural resources, and other environmental issues. Since gray water is an easy and innovative solution to prevent us from using so much clean, potable water, we asked them to consider state funding to make it easier for more people to use gray water systems at home. We also presented our solution to students at our school and to the Young Professionals group at Stantec Consulting. Kids could spread the idea of our solution by talking to their parents, relatives, and friends. The young professionals at Stantec Consulting are hydrologists who provide consulting services on water delivery projects. Our idea also might impact their work. Thank you.
You, Harrison.
Hello, my name is Diego. There are two main sources of cost to implement our solution. Building the tank with a simple filter is not that expensive. The filter could be a screen like they use in the first step of the water treatment process to catch all of the particles. You could build a tank for about $1,000 to $1,500. Having a pipe system that goes from certain parts of a house to the tank is also not that difficult to do with some plumbing changes to your house. This could cost more money. We wanted to come to the city council today to talk to all of you about how you can help more people have gray water systems like the solution we came up with. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tarek. California has policies for installation and permitting home gray water systems. It would be great if there was state funding from the city of Sacramento to help homeowners install gray water systems and save water, similar to the program the city of San Francisco started. The city would even apply
for grant funding from the federal EPA to help pay for a program here. We created a model out of Legos that shows how our gray water solution works. We also drew an illustration of a house that uses our solution. Thank you.
Thank you to all of you. What a fabulous presentation. I'm going to turn it over to your council member, Jeff Harris, for a few comments.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, you have to understand how delighted I am to have run into this group of students here in my district, because water supply and conservation and flood control issues are near and dear to my heart and things that I work on a lot. So I'll be soliciting their comments in our water committee, no doubt.
The chairman of the water committee, by the way, right there.
So, you know, the fact that they had the gumption to take on this challenge and come up with a project to talk about gray water and how to deal with drought conditions, I think is really fabulous. I think we're raising a great crop of kids here. So to recognize your efforts, I've got a little certificate for each of you. So if you wouldn't mind coming up front here, we'll get a little picture.
You know, while you're doing that, I just have to say, Councilmember Chenier, you know, for many years started this program called Summer at City Hall. And high school students do these kinds of projects. I have never seen fifth graders, fourth and fifth graders with this kind of level of sophistication in terms of attacking a public policy problem. I'm really amazed. So thank you. Congratulations. Can I get down there too?
Get a little closer. There you go. Squeeze in there.
Principal, do you want to be in the photo? Come on.
2. Come on, Principal. Come on, right. Coaches. Got their coaches. Who are their coaches?
Mention that these kids have mentors, and they're here in the audience. Sarah Seberg and Marco Martinez. So why don't you come down, Sarah, as well? Come on, don't be shy. They've spent a lot of hours with these kids, helping them create their challenge project, and what a great bunch of scientists we're raising here.
1, 2, 3.
Awesome, you guys. Hey, we'll try and make a little head.
Yeah, make a little. Okay. All right, next, please.
So I have 23 more speakers for matters not on the agenda. The first is Larry Glover Mead, then Chris Rogers, and then Stephanie Duncan.
That's a tough act to follow. Dear Honorable Mayor and Council members, hello, my name is Larry Glover Mead. I'm one of the co-chairs of the North Sacramento Advisory Committee on Homelessness. I'm joined tonight by our co-chair, Alicia Sebastian. I wanted to say Silverstone, but that is not correct. At the recommendation of Mayor Steinberg and Councilman Warren, the North Sacramento Advisory Committee on Homelessness was created as a basis for community input and the development of a good neighbor policy regarding the placement of an emergency winter homeless triage shelter in North Sacramento. It's specifically tasked with reporting any impacts the shelter may have in District 2. The committee is comprised of individual community members, representatives of neighborhood associations, and local business representatives. We've been meeting regularly since November 6th and have had the opportunity to speak with a variety of stakeholders who are responsible for various aspects of the operation of the shelter on Railroad Drive. Our committee has received feedback from residents and businesses, as well as data gathered by the Del Paso Boulevard Partnership, which diverges from some of the analysis disseminated by the city. The number of people observed to be experiencing homelessness on Del Paso Boulevard and the areas surrounding the American River Parkway has dramatically increased. Camp Pollock has a notable increase in thefts and acts of vandalism that have coincided with the opening of the shelter. We've heard from various community members and those experiencing homelessness themselves that the current system established for referrals to the shelter is not serving those most in need nor most vulnerable within North Sacramento. There are numerous complaints that people who want to help the homeless, including business owners on Del Paso Boulevard that open their businesses to folks experiencing homelessness, have been instructed by the city to call 311, 211, the police, code enforcement, and are passed continuously back and forth through various switchboards. Neither the homeless population nor residents have seen police impact teams or the health outreach worker navigators on the ground reaching out to the unsheltered in North Sacramento. We've just passed out a packet of information that includes our letter, as well as some data that we've collected, as well as data that the PBID has collected as well. And it's our committee's sincere hope that the council hears the urgencies of these issues during this time of extreme need in our community and reaches out to us so that we can find solutions together and improve operations at the winter shelter.
Next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Chris Rogers, then Stephanie Duncan, and then Wanda Cleveland.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Steinberg. My name is Chris Rogers, and I've been in Sacramento for 15 years. My husband's family has been here for over 50 years. We live in the Land Park neighborhood with 2 daughters and a cute rescue dog. I'm an active community member, Girl Scout leader, public school volunteer. I'm a homeowner, and I always vote, and I read what I vote for. I've never spoken to you before, and you don't know me, but you will. Over the next weeks and months, I will come to these council meetings prepared with a boots-on-the-ground perspective, what my family and neighbors have personally experienced. I'd like to say that living in our state capital is truly special. It provides unique opportunities for my children. I appreciate all the hard work you're doing to revitalize our city. I value your commitment to promoting the arts and new business and new housing. They're exciting. Yet the unexciting work of clean streets and public safety must rise with it. If I don't feel comfortable taking my girls to see the commissioned street murals or enjoy dinner out without having to constantly be on the defensive, the city loses my dollars, and my family loses experiences that we want to enjoy. I've seen crime increase in my neighborhood in the last 2 years, and here's some information to confirm my perspective. Right now, SPD has 1.32 sworn officers for every 1,000 residents. That's the lowest amount of sworn officers per capita among similar cities. In 2017, our downtown county jail released around 200 inmates. No services or resources were ready to meet them when they were let out. The mill at Broadway will have 800 housing units when completed, further impacting the duties of our thinly stretched police force. As the city continues to grow, our police force must grow with it. Their presence will allow families like mine to feel safer as we enjoy the town, and they will protect the investments you are making in Sacramento. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming. We look forward to seeing more of you.
Our next speaker is Stephanie Duncan, then Wanda Cleveland, and Michael Voy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Mayor Steinberg, council members. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Stephanie Duncan, and I'm a Land Park resident. I'm going to piggyback a bit upon what Chris Rogers just said. But first and foremost, I want to thank the City Council and thank the Mayor for all the hard work that you've done to support the arts, to encourage sports to come to our city, to seek job growth for our city. We have the Powerhouse Science Center that's coming. It's a very exciting venture that's been in the works for over a decade. We have a potential waterfront improvements near Old Sac. And at the same time, there is one aspect that needs to be addressed, that must not be forgotten as our city grows. We have that we need something to have a foundation to kind of build up our city, and that includes a robust police force, more code enforcement officers, park rangers, and all of these people to keep people safe, enforce the laws, make sure our city is clean, and help attract those who may want to visit our city to attend a game, an art show, a concert, while at the same time getting help for people who are currently living on the street by increasing the members of our impact team. In our area, we have a large transient population, mostly made up of people who are mentally ill and opioid addicted young adults. And we don't often, I know that they are reached out to, and a lot of them do refuse services. So we need to make those services more attractive, and I look forward to hearing more about how our whole person care program is reaching out to people and is helping them. In the meantime, we have many statistics from Paladin Security, who patrols our business districts, over 1,800 calls for service just by the businesses alone for help because of our increased homeless population in our area. So I just ask for your help going forward to make sure that we do have a good foundation of police and enforcement officers. Thank you.
My next speaker is Wanda Cleveland, then Michael Voy.
Good afternoon. It's been a while since I've been here. I thought I'd come down just to harass you guys. I'm not from Land Park, but I'm from the great city of Elk Grove. We have a homeless population there, but you know what? We've got it under control. Maybe you guys should come to Elk Grove and see how we do it. And when the statistics comes up for the railroad, are we going to get told the truth, or are we going to get an expanded lie? Because I know a couple people that were in that shelter that left because they were freezing. Do they not have heat there? I personally took blankets there for people. Are we freezing them in there? Again, we need more housing. It's like the disabled lady here. That's only a part, 8. That's only 8 people that you know of here. But there's 80 million people out there like her. It's time for affordable housing. These apartments complexes aren't taking those whatever you guys are handing out. It's like candy you can't eat because it's poison.
My next speaker is Michael Voy, and then Michael Hansen.
My name is Michael Voy, and you know me. Happy New Year, Mayor, council members. May you have the great year that the mayor envisions. Near the end of last year, a council member asked me, "What kind of job do you think we're doing?" And I told him I thought you were doing a pretty good job. I think you are, considering the circumstances under which you operate. There's still some unfinished business. There are things that have been requested, and there have, by various members during the public comment periods, restrooms, water fountains, and maybe not, and maybe that isn't enough. Maybe the homeless should have a center, not a triage center, but they should have a community center. They are a community. And there hasn't been movement on some of these issues because the speakers haven't given you the ammunition that you need to take to your constituents. You represent people. Some of these things would have been granted had your constituents wanted them, but they didn't, apparently. And that means that the constituents really don't care about the conditions on K Street, although I talked to a worker, a person who has to clean up K Street. Apparently you don't care about that. Apparently you don't care about the water system. Cogent arguments have been made and no action has been taken. That means that there's resistance somewhere. That means that there is a problem. Where does the problem lie? Is it with the council or is it with the constituents? Do we need to educate the constituents, and how do we do that? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Here is Michael Hansen. Our next speaker is Michael Hansen, then David Andre, and then Patty Uplinger.
Good evening. I'm with the Sacramento Art and Revolution Group in a combined statement here. We were promised and emphatically assured that the new formed wannabe Major League Soccer team would be entirely publicly funded. But now we see the mayor and city council are sending clear signals that they intend to appropriate Sacramento City taxpayer funds to facilitate the enfranchising of the soccer team by funding their $250 million soccer stadium and a $150 million expansion fee. We can only speculate what the construction cost overruns and other entailed expenses will continue to amount to. To begin with, then, we are talking about $400 million, and all this only so that Sacramento might only have a chance to be considered for inclusion in the MLS. By this point, we have an overwhelming preponderance of studies and investigative reporting showing that these municipal sport team investments have no appreciable positive effect on local economies. Last year, the city allocated $17.5 million to ameliorate conditions for our 14,000 homeless. Much of that money is in fact spent on racially and social regressive policing. Much of it is also spent on initiatives and programs that seem to go nowhere. What in the name of reason and sanity are your priorities? If you want to stimulate our local economy, you would do far better to make available resources to those in our city who are in most desperate need. Thank you.
David Andre, and then Patty Uplinger.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is a continuation on a statement from your Sacramento Arts and Revolution. And this is all regarding this soccer franchise thing that we were promised would not have any taxpayer funds.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I don't want, I know this.
There's a soccer franchise thing. This week in the News and Review, there's a really good article about it. This soccer franchise now is talking about it may need public funds, while we still got, we only got 50 people in this shelter, and we want to build a sports team. And according to the article, I'm hearing that our mayor and our former mayor are lobbying for the sports team.
I'd be happy to clarify, but why don't you finish your...
This is a statement we prepared based on the information that we have at this time. In a world of real economies and real dire consequences, resources provided to those in most dire need are resources that are most directly displaced into the larger local economy. So why, with so many Sacramentans being evicted and living on the streets, why are you, our city government, preparing to misdirect upwards of $400 million on a bid for a sports franchise that has so little to offer the material well-being of our city? We can only assume this will serve to politically ingratiate those select few who will directly benefit from this and will return the favor with election campaign funds or other returns of favor. This appropriation of hundreds of millions of dollars for a stadium and dubious fees may advance your personal careers. But the people of Sacramento shall be shamefully ill-served by this return to the Kevin Johnson style of smoke and mirrors. Another grandiose sports arena scheme, it sounds like to us.
David, thank you. Your time is up. Go ahead. Finish up.
Are we going to get an answer to this, hopefully, with respect?
Next speaker is Patty Uplinger, and then Robert Coplin, and then Trina Allen.
Hello, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Today, I have my hat on as a housing specialist for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. You heard Libby earlier speaking of her situation. And I have to go back to 2001 when I worked in supported living, and one of the issues that we had in trying to look for housing was there was a lack of housing in 2001 and a lack of accessible housing. This is 16 years later, and here I am. And I want to commend you actually for what you have been doing for assisting people experiencing homelessness in the city of Sacramento. I know we're taking baby steps and there's a lot of work to be done. Unfortunately, at this point, the numbers were 3,600 people that were in the count, 30% increase in January at the point in time count of people experiencing homelessness without a roof over their head. And I'm afraid that that on a daily basis is going up. And let me explain what I mean by that. Supported living service agencies I work for as a housing specialist, and I know of last week, and that's what brought me here tonight. Last week I spoke to a couple people, and one agency has 15 people that are on low income, some with housing choice vouchers, that need to relocate by March 1st. These are people with developmental disabilities. Mind you, I was telling someone a story on this, and they said, why don't they move to another city? And my mouth dropped. I'm like, what? Why should they? Well, there's no housing here. Well, wait, no, this is their home, and I only have 20 seconds. Okay, the other thing that I need to say is that Happy New Year, you're evicted. I got a call yesterday from Riverside Villas. These are just people that have housing choice vouchers and that live at these villas that are losing their housing as of March 31st. The ones without a voucher in 60 days, they got it delivered on New Year's Eve to them. The Harvard report, America's Rental Housing 2017, says that Sacramento has below a 1.5 vacancy rate for low-income housing. I want you to declare a state of emergency of housing in the city of Sacramento, in the county of Sacramento. We need funding. We need homeless prevention, and we need a rental subsidy to prevent these vulnerable people landing on the streets with everybody else, the other 4,000 that are already there.
Yeah. Appreciate exactly what you're saying. I hear you.
Housing is a human right.
Hearing it a
housing
lot.
Now. We need a housing now.
Patty,
and like everybody up there, there's no place like home.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well received. Thank you.
My next speaker is Robert Copland, then Trina Allen, then Mac Worthy.
Well, as a member of Second Attention, I agree with everything what Patty said about we need more housing now. So what's the mayor and the city council been doing, going to do about it? I've been asking this for months, and I've gotten silence. So you know what I'm going to do Thursday? I'm going to the state capitol and go to a hearing to repeal Costa-Hawkins. And that means rent control would be more available in California. And we're going to mobilize the citizens against, we're going to get what we want. That's rent control, more affordable housing. And I remember a few months ago, one of the city council members said housing is a top priority. So is it a top priority or not in the city council? And as far as people on SSI, you know how much they get? If the maximum amount, $910 if you're single. With no CalFresh benefits. That's all you get, $910 on SSI. And there's a coalition called CA for SSI Coalition. We're trying to raise that amount for people on SSI. I believe some of the people that Patty's talking about are on SSI, right? We're going to try to help them out. So, thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Trina Allen, Mac Worthy, and then Dr. Paul Davis.
Hello, my name is Trina Allen, and I'm a Sacramento resident. I'm here today to stand with Black Lives Matter Sacramento to demand complete oversight of our police department, including its trainings. An association of police officers should not be in charge of facilitation of the trainings ordered as a result of police violence in our community. Any actions the city makes that uses our tax dollars towards accountability and transparency should be strictly monitored by the community it serves, the community. As a voting member of the Sacramento community, here are my demands. Sacramento Police Commission should be empowered to improve the process and confirm the completion of each training. Trainings need to be conducted on-site with the exception of field trips and facilitated by experts in the field of training curriculum. Trainings should conclude with a test of understanding, and most importantly, trainings need to be overseen and monitored by community members that have experiences relevant to the training.
Next speaker is Mac Worthy, then Dr. Paul Davis, and then Eric Frame.
Worthy.
Good afternoon and hello, New Year, 4 p.m. People, I want to go back on some things to the Hispanic community. Hispanic community don't wind up like black folks wind up at the 60 movements. Now is the time to understand what is going on. You're going to only be counted and prepared to vote. Then the majority of you that's babies now will never vote. It's the same thing happened to black people in South Carolina. The majority of the people, because integration only went from K to 12, majority of those people never voted. Never voted in their life because they was disenfranchised. Then when the integration went in, the black woman got a welfare check. They didn't tell her, your husband will be arrested because he's not supporting you. We are furthermore disenfranchised. The same thing is happening here now. There was no integration in no housing. There was no integration in no job workplace. The same thing began to happen to Hispanics. Get out and work with Donald Trump and go to court. Go to court to be sure that the Republicans watch for you down the road, because that was a Democrat process under Martin King as a sportsman, not a leader of forced integration. And we've been tumbling ever since. I left there because I'd have been dead. You put that dog on me, I'm going to shoot you the next day. That's me. I got out of South Carolina, dropped out of Morris College in Sumter, South Carolina, came here, and people below in the hole. It was worse. If I'd have knew anything, I wouldn't have come here. The government owned it. The majority of the black people here was in Delpas Heights from Mobile, Alabama. That was the 53 Korean conflict of the 12th graders of blacks went into military, Air Force, volunteer. Majority of them were shot on the ground because they didn't have a combat experienced people. My sister was here, and her husband went in the reason I got here. And that's sickening people to see that the same thing will happen to Hispanic. I got Hispanic grandkids, and I'm going to stay on it until Donald Trump drains the swamp.
Our next speaker is Dr. Paul Davis, and then Eric Frame.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. In 1975, while at the University of Maryland, we were the first recipients of a FEMA grant which examined the physiological requirements for structural firefighting. In 1991, we established the first Firefighter Combat Challenge competition in Anaheim, and since that time, we have had a championship every year. In 2018, we have selected Sacramento as the venue for the 27th International Scott Firefighter Combat Challenge. My purpose for being here today is to thank you for your hospitality and to tell you that we are very much looking forward to bringing about 400 of the world's most elite firefighters for a week of games that will take place on 10th Street in front of the Capitol.
When? When is it, sir?
October 22.
October 22.
For that week, yes.
That's fabulous. Thank you for letting us know.
It will be broadcast on ESPN for the last 2 days.
Really?
Yes, sir.
ESPN 1 or 2?
3.
Oh, really? Okay.
Also the Ocho.
Also what?
Ocho.
Okay.
ESPN Ocho.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Make sure we're there. Thank you so much. Good to know.
Frame, then Melissa McTerra, and then Mike Feinstein.
Happy New Year. Nice to see you again.
It's a good job. I had
Yeah,
it.
I know, it was your job. I think I can do a better job.
No doubt about it.
So, as you know, upon your return to the city, we have many people freezing to death outside. We have trash and litter all over the city, all over it. I spoke to my friends Jeff and Jeff, who live on the street over on Broadway. They tell me a lot of trash cans on Broadway were scooped up and put into one location, hidden somewhere to be not used. That seems a little silly. We still have public bathrooms that are closed and shut down. You know homelessness has increased, you've said it, and yet you close public bathrooms down. It doesn't make sense. People have to go to the bathroom, and we need a clean city. We need public health, right? You guys ran on public health. Having shit in the streets is not good for public health.
On.
Pardon me.
It's in the dictionary.
True. All right. One thing I say when I'm out there collecting signatures from the people, from your constituents, is that we have a plethora of vacant buildings and vacant lots all over this town. I was feeding the homeless last week, and I saw these vacant buildings that had these little faux dining areas in them. They're not restaurants, but they're vacant buildings with little tables and chairs in them. I think just to make it look like they're not so darn vacant or something. You guys got some bold strategies. So we can hire the homeless to clean up the trash. We can hire the homeless to refurbish some of the empty buildings. There's an empty building right over there in Cesar Chavez where people could live. So affordable housing, as you know, perhaps some public housing. After all this, we've waited for and people have died. Thank you.
Melissa McTerra, and then Mike Feinstein, and then Adrian.
Hi, my name is Melissa McTernan, and I'm a Sacramento resident, and I'm also an assistant professor at Sac State University. And I am here today to stand with Black Lives Matter Sacramento to demand complete oversight of our police department, including its trainings. An association of police officers should not be in charge of the facilitation of trainings ordered as a result of police violence on our community. Any actions the city makes that use our tax dollars towards accountability and transparency should be strictly monitored by the community it serves. As a voting member of the Sacramento community, here are my demands. Sacramento Police Commission should be empowered to approve the process and confirm the completion of each training. Training needs to be conducted on-site, with the exception of field trips, and facilitated by experts in the field of the training curriculum. Trainings should conclude with a test of understanding, and trainings need to be overseen and monitored by community members that have experiences that are relevant to the training itself. Thank you.
Mike Feinstein, and then Adriana.
There it is. Okay. Good evening. My name is Michael Feinstein. I'm a former mayor and city council member in Santa Monica, co-founder of the Green Party of California, and a 2018 candidate for Secretary of State. I'm here to speak about a policy that I'm recommending that would affect your city, and that is that I believe the California State Legislature needs to reflect the true diversity of people in California, and at 40 and 80 seats in the two houses, it's too small to do that. I'm recommending a 500-seat unicameral legislature, half of which is elected by proportional representation from multi-seat districts. How that relates to your work is California is a nation state, and we're a state of regions. What I'm recommending is our proportional representation elections come from 8 multi-seat districts that are multi-county districts. Why do that? Because a lot of our economy, a lot of our planning is regional in nature, land use, economics, etc. Yet our public policy debates that lead to the legislature don't have that regional basis. Instead, we come from individual legislative districts. I believe the public would benefit and our state legislature would benefit if we had regional public policy discussions and sent those people into the legislature. So the region that you would be in here is a gold country region, and when you think about the Sacramento Area Council of Governments or ABAG or SCAG or all those agencies, those discussions happen between cities, but it doesn't happen as part of the electoral process. So I'm campaigning on that sort of issue. We're all familiar with how state policy affects us, maybe for the negative with Costa-Hawkins or the Ellis Act, or for the positive, the work that the mayor did on fiscalization of land use. Those kind of public policy discussions need to happen on a regional basis. I hope as my campaign grows and catches fire that you'll assign some staff time and look at how this policy would actually work to improve regional planning for your city in the Sacramento region. Thank you very much.
For coming tonight. We appreciate it.
Sure.
It's very good.
My next speaker is Adrian, and then Carly Brannon, and then Pastor Gainsborough.
Hi, my name is Adrian. I'm a Sacramento resident. I'm here today to stand with Black Lives Matter Sacramento to demand complete oversight of our police department, including its trainings. An association of police officers should not be in charge of the facilitation of trainings ordered as a result of police violence on our community. Any actions that the city makes that uses our tax dollars toward accountability and transparency should be strictly monitored by the community it serves. As a voting member of the Sacramento community, here are my demands. The Sacramento Police Commission should be empowered to approve the process and confirm the completion of each training. Training needs to be conducted on-site with the exception of field trips and facilitated by experts in the field of the training curriculum. Training should conclude with a test of understanding, and these trainings need to be overseen and monitored by community members that have experiences relevant to the training. We were here a little over a month ago. We hope that you all are looking into these things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Carly Brannon, and then Pastor Gainsborough.
Hi, my name's Carly. I'm a Sacramento resident. I'm here today to stand with Black Lives Matter Sacramento to demand complete oversight of our police department, including its trainings. An association of police officers should not be in charge of the facilitation of trainings ordered as a result of police violence on our community. Any actions the city makes that uses our tax dollars toward accountability and transparency, which we still have not seen from you guys, by the way, should be strictly monitored by the community it serves. As a voting member of the Sacramento community, here are my demands. The Sacramento Police Commission should be empowered to approve the process and confirm the completion of each training. Training needs to be conducted on-site, with the exception of field trips, and facilitated by experts in the field of the training's curriculum. Training should conclude with a test of understanding. Trainings need to be overseen and monitored by community members that have experiences relevant to the training. Dejan Flano matters, Joseph Mann matters, Adrian Ludd matters, Desmond Phillip matters, Patricia Hill matters, Ryan Ellis matters, Lorenzo Cruz matters, Michael McIntyre matters, Nandi Kane matters, Zatira Abraham matters, Black Lives Matter. And to kind of piggyback off of these things that I've been hearing throughout the night, it is not more police that we need, it is more services, it is more housing, and it is affordable housing.
Pastor Gainsborough, and then Lazaro Cardenas, and then Fong.
Mayor Steinberg and council.
Pastor.
It's good to be here. Good to see you all. And missing Councilwoman Ashby and our other councilmen. I want to commend the opening of the triage center on Railroad Avenue. For those who haven't been there, it's not that 50 people are there. I was there Saturday for an hour and a half. There's 110 or 120.
157 as of today, and we're going to get up to 200.
With beds that I saw for 192, with room actually to build some more. If they can zero in on this Sacramento Bee headline here with the projection. Wednesday, December 27th.
Oh, yeah.
City homeless shelter said to have little effect. It's amazing what you can say on a front page of a newspaper. But this is a blatant lie. They're starting out with the public opinion of those who would not want any shelter in their district, which means there would be none in any district. Now, if you'll enlarge this, please, enlarge it some more, enlarge it some more. This is the final article after half a page on page 9. And it reads this way. It says, it was a lady there, Paula Richardson, 55, had been on the river for 17 years. She said, after having been one of the first admitted several weeks ago, she said, "This is the best thing I've ever done. This is the best thing." Say that with me. "This is the best thing I've ever done in my life." She said, "I've got my ID. I can now get Social Security." It reads, "Within days of being here, now maybe I can get a house. I can get my life in order, and I'm sleeping like a baby." People, pets, and possessions was one of the requirements for a triage center. I want to commend you that it's open. It's not the sun, moon, and the stars, but it's a start. There's 17 tents on the levee right outside the triage shelter. There's the homeless impact team is only there occasionally in the morning out across town. They need a homeless impact team there all day long, at least full-time in the morning.
Yes.
There needs to be navigators on site. At your inauguration, you said we need at least 100 full-time trained workers to help with the placement and the services. You hit a home run. All of you have hit a home run. You need to see not just Dunkirk, the movie, which is all the
Pastor,
I need to stop. But all the parts that are helping will help rescue the thousands of homeless. 2 people are dying this week. Who's dying tonight? Because two homeless a week die
Pastor,
for the last 2 years. You're doing a great job. I want to commend you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Lazaro Cardenas, and then Fong.
Mr. Cardenas.
Good evening. My name is Lázaro Cárdenas. I'm here as a representative of the Sacramento Tenants Union. The Sacramento Tenants Union is a new organization, thank you, that believes that housing is a human right. I'll say that again, housing is a human right. We also really strongly believe in partnership and solidarity with other communities. Specifically today at this moment, I want to express solidarity with both the homeless community and also with those unfortunate folks who will be potentially losing their homes come March, those in the developmental disability community. I want to be here to echo and show solidarity with both Ms. Elizabeth Drake and the comments that were made there with regard to vouchers, as well as the comments made by Patty on rental subsidies. It's really unfortunate that we're starting off this new year with, storms coming in, weather's becoming more erratic and difficult, and we have some of the most vulnerable people at risk of losing their homes. The issues are multifaceted, whether it's an eviction or their vouchers, or mostly, oftentimes, I believe, increasing rent. Issues are multifaceted, but when it comes down to really is about priorities. I think Art and Rev mentioned it before. It's an issue of priorities. Are we going to help people stay in their homes or not? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Thank you.
Next speaker is Fong, and then Derek Jackson.
Good evening. I'd like to talk a little bit about 2 things. You have a chance. The 2 things I actually want to address is that you all have a chance to be heroes. You have a chance to make things work for people, and you have a chance to do good. You went to a vigil over your recess, and the mayor noted that 112 people died. And he gave a very heartfelt speech about it. And it really, it was impressive. But have you thought that those people died because it was a result of the 3 ordinances that you supported? The anti-camping ordinance, the anti-panhandling ordinance, and the third one is to expel people from parks. You talk about having safety for your citizens. The homeless community are part of your citizen, your residents. They need safety, they need protection. There are just last week, 2 women came up to me. They were raped. The trauma of that. And it's repeated. So now on the other hand is that what I'm seeing is you all are participating in being abusers, okay? You're abusing people, you're abusing using your power. The 3 types of abuse that have people's children taken away are physical, psychological, emotional, and neglect. The first one is about brutality. The second one is about how you treat the homeless community. And the third one is also the same. So safety for all the citizens, and I really appreciate that you guys are letting me finish my comment. And I'm glad you had a good holiday, but share some of that with the rest of us.
The next speaker is Derek Jackson, and then Mary Tapple, and then Ramel Pinzon.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Ma'am, can I put this here to be shown? Okay. Well, let's do this.
You might want to remove the one underneath.
Okay. Is that good?
That's fine.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, Mr. Jennings, Mr. Warren, I want to thank you all for allowing me to, take a couple of minutes. Is that the right way? You want yours off of there? How about that? I'm here, I'm not going to take much of your time. I'm basically here to invite you to 3 things. Councilman Jennings knows about this. We've talked about it over the years. But Mr. Mayor, you and I crossed paths while you were doing what I call governing by walking around nugget. So we had a brief conversation. It was based on your familiarity with what goes on at Travis Air Force Base. You seem to have an interest in doing something outgoing and energetic. So I took the initiative and followed up, connected with Travis Air Force Base, and what they're going to do is outreach to you about the honorary commanders program. But basically, before we get to that, Councilman Warren, we have a veteran hiring event coming up in your district at McClellan, February 18th. The entire council is invited to that. If y'all could share that with veterans in your community, that would be a good thing. I know overall unemployment has gone down, but our veteran population is still one of those that has challenges. So we want to do everything we can to connect them with viable employment opportunities. The next thing I'd like to do is basically show you the letter from Travis Air Force Base. Ma'am, is this going to be entered into public record if I leave it with you? Okay.
You got 40 seconds. If you, I mean, just want to make sure you get through it.
Oh, no,
Go.
I'll be real quick. This is just a formal invitation from Travis Air Force Base to the entire City Council. Mr. Jennings, they have a special request to reach out to you because we've talked about this before. Mr. Mayor, a lady from the PA, the Public Affairs Office at Travis, is going to reach out to your staff, and they're going to give you an application. The good part is we start the process now in January. They do selections in August. You meet with the commander at that point, and then you're on that list until such time as you come off the list. And this is the final part of that. And again, I'll leave all of this information with the staff. If you have any questions, my card will be available also. But again, it's an excellent program, and I would ask that you take the time to look at it.
Thanks so much, Mr. Jackson. We'll look at all of it. We really appreciate you coming here tonight.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My next speaker is Mary.
Councilman Carr had a...
I'd like to make sure we get a copy of the flyer on the Veterans Hiring Program.
Absolutely. I'll leave it to be entered into record, and then send the electronic copy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, sir. We'll do our best. Come.
Our next speaker is Mary Tapple, and then Ramel Pinzon.
Hi, belated Happy New Year to the mayor and members of the city council. I'm Mary Tapple, and I'm also here to say, to congratulate the council and the Mayor Steinberg and everybody who's worked on getting that triage center open at Railroad Avenue. I and a partner of mine are very frequently checking it, and when all we had to do was report to our local Captain Seifert with the police department, who passes it on to the city impact team, that there were loose pit bulls there and tents before the center opened. And they got cleaned up, and they've been kept away, and we check up to 4 or 5 or more times a week. And we very often, at least half the times, we've seen the police there. They're often just cruising by in a car real quick. I can understand why other people wouldn't notice how often they come by, but we sure do. And I know they come by a whole lot more often than us, because they have kept the tents away from the media facility. And the reason you have to keep the tents away is because they are very frequently accompanied by up to 3 loose pit bulls that are completely without people around. They may be dragging leashes, but they are free, and you never know when a pit bull might turn vicious or antagonistic. So the next thing I wanted to say, that the kids from the FEBOTs reminded me of something that Terry Tamminen, former California Environmental Protection Agency director and cabinet secretary to Governor Schwarzenegger for a while. He mentioned that as long as you just use soap, you can just put a big basin, one of those big tubs under you in a shower, and put the water in the soap and walk outside with the basin and use it directly to water your plants. And there's no problem with that. The only thing you have to remember is shampoos include detergent, which breaks down capillary action. You don't want to put that on your garden plants. It's called sodium lauryl sulfate. And thank you very much, and keep up the good work, and you're doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ramel Pinzon, and this is the last speaker for matters not on the agenda.
Blessings to you and yours, council. You know, it's disheartening to walk in your neighborhood to read everywhere such a horrible truth. It's unfortunate, but I was one of these individuals who had to legalistically threaten grow property management just to maintain my homestead because I was being discriminated against. A group that happens to reside in your prestigious and honorable district, Councilman Harris. Fortunately, I understand law and have resources to defend myself. But what about those who are defenseless, who have no voice? What about the thousands of long-time multi-generational households who are the recipients of microaggressions in the form of legalism, extraordinary rent hikes of epic and historical proportion, and discrimination based on income disparity, disabilities, and race, who are being uprooted for the sake of welcoming transplant empty nesters and neo-hipsters who are only interested in the community, our California cuisine, artisan cocktails, and a claim to a culture that's ours.
Yes.
Sacramento is ever so inviting to the rest of this country, yet we treat our own residents like weeds that need to be plucked and discarded. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for improvement, Mayor. But what are we doing to uphold justice and maintain the integrity of our own people? What are we doing to make our own people feel welcome? Yes. We emphasize to our community to pull up your bootstraps. But what about those who are getting their boots taken away? Or no longer have boots to strap? I quote the beloved Dr. King, "All labor that uplifts humanity has dignity and importance and should be undertaken with painstaking excellence." On this day, in remembrance of Dr. King, I encourage and challenge this panel, many of you who claim Dr. King, to excellently and righteously uphold and magnify the duties that you have been given to advocate for our people for the sake of preserving his legacy.
Sir, you need to
and
wrap
the
it up.
communities of this great city.
very, very much. Excellent. Very compelling and thorough as always on all the subjects that we know are crucial. Housing. It's got to be the year of housing. I hear you. Stay tuned.
We're going to have more people on the street than we have
Okay,
housing.
Wanda, please. Thank you. Let's move on to the rest of the agenda.
We are here to help you.
Thank you. Let's move on to the consent calendar, please. Consent calendar. Do we have any members that need to remove any items or wish to remove any items from the consent calendar? If not, let's hear a couple of items of public testimony on the consent calendar.
I have two speakers on the consent calendar, Robert Coplin and Mac Worthy. Mr. Coplin is speaking on item 13. Mr. Worthy is speaking on item 14. Mr. Coplin?
This has to do with Twin Rivers apartment complex. I'd like to know a few things. Is there any idea where we can get more information on how many units will be built that are mixed use, affordable housing, market rate, luxury? Is there any, I know people that have actually, I know one person that went to my complex from Twin Rivers. So is there any information where I can find that's available on this?
Sure, we have Ms. Dozier and her staff back there. They are spearheading the effort to try to attain a $35 million or so grant through the State Strategic Growth Council. And she and her staff can provide you all the detail that you want, Robert.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
This is part of Sacramento.
No, it's a good thing. It's more housing. Desperately needed affordable housing. It's a great project.
And the last speaker on the consent calendar is Mac Worthy on item 14.
Many of the people do, you have to go on record. You all already approved the consent calendar, but that's the thing about the law in America. You can't appeal a case if you don't go on record and oppose. And down the line, some of the stuff going to be changed. Explain to the people about these citations. The city, county, and state shares the money from citations. Then we hear from these people today that supposed to be soccer field. Now, you went back there, Mayor. Didn't they show you that Tennessee had the power right down below Pittsburgh, the gathering of the people? And then we hear that we may go in and I don't oppose those fantasized things, but I don't play that way in a crowd. And we got to watch what's going on here in a crowd, socialize. Remember Vegas with the LA Whole House on fire. Be aware of when you're bringing these things in and saying, hey, you know, this is going to make us some money. We're going to use the public funding. Now, I just heard that. I got several calls from people of where the soccer was going to go. But then I hear here tonight, and then I hear here on the parking, that $275,000 that you can't be competitive. Now, all the night I was in here that the meters are going to write citations. What are you doing? They can't write citations on no $275,000. That's the processing of the parking tickets. I thought that was already simplified. The process of those tickets is when you turn them in. So there's some things here that should be put in perspective in this city councils. Educate your constituents on what's going on here. Mayor, you can't do it all, but you can demand the representatives, they are not leaders, they are representatives, to go out and educate the general public.
Thank you, sir. Happy New Year to you. We'll see you often. Moved approval of the consent calendar, second by Vice Mayor Jennings. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. That's the consent calendar. We now move to item 17 of the agenda. This is the annual selection of the vice mayor for the city of Sacramento. And
Public hearing.
what's that? Oh, item 15. I guess I was just anxious to get to item 17. I don't know what it was. And 16. Okay. Stand corrected once again. Okay, item 15. Let's go. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor Steinberg and council members. Taryn Wing with the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency. The report before you requests approval of a $14 million loan commitment consisting of $5 million in City Housing Trust funds, $2 million in Housing Successor funds, and $7 million in Choice Neighborhoods Initiative funds, along with a bond issuance for Twin Rivers Phase 1. Twin Rivers Phase 1 is a new construction, mixed-income housing development. The 107-unit project will be the first stage of the redevelopment of the existing Twin Rivers public housing development, which currently contains 218 housing units originally constructed between 1942 and 1946. Due to the age of the buildings and lack of federal funding provided to maintain public housing, many of the systems and infrastructure at Twin Rivers have reached the end of their useful lives. The Twin Rivers redevelopment will preserve a project that is currently publicly subsidized. When complete, the entire Twin Rivers community will consist of approximately 487 units with an array of affordability, including market rate and a minimum of 218 public housing replacement units. The proposed Phase 1 project will be composed of townhouses, multifamily, and garden-style walk-up buildings and includes 107 units comprised of 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom units. Importantly, Phase 1 will also contain a majority of the amenities for the entire 487-unit Twin Rivers community, including management offices, 2 resident community rooms, fitness center, swimming pool, and barbecue area. McCormick Barron Salazar will develop the project. The project will be managed by McCormick Barron Management. A minimum of 15 hours of resident services per week will be provided by Urban Strategies. Agency staff has reviewed and approved both the management and resident services plans. Agency staff has also reviewed and approved the security plan, which includes installation of cameras, lighting, security patrols, and access-controlled gates. In addition to the agency loan and Housing Authority ground lease, the proposed financing includes 4% low-income housing tax credits, tax-exempt bond financing, a bank loan, and a deferred developer fee. A competitive, affordable housing and sustainable communities application will be submitted next week to the state of California, which will leverage additional financing. Earlier this year, HUD approved 42 project-based vouchers for the public housing replacement units in this Phase 1 project. In closing, staff is requesting approval of the $14 million loan commitment of Housing Trust Funds, Housing Successor Funds, and Choice Neighborhoods Initiative Funds to Twin Rivers Phase 1. Yusuf Freeman of McCormick Barron Salazar is here with us tonight, and staff is available to address any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Good presentation. This is a big deal, as they say. How many affordable housing units again, just to highlight?
In this phase, there are 79.
And these are all, are they one for one, or are we adding affordable housing units? Are we replacing 79 existing units? But they're going to be higher quality units. And the current residents are going to have first
Yes.
Right at the same rent for those units, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's important. So we're improving the housing stock in a very significant way for people. 2 speakers. Go ahead.
I have 2 speakers on this item. The first is Robert Coplin and then Mac Worthy.
Okay, this is number 3. Robert, you're in favor of this?
I'm going to tell you, surprisingly, yes.
All right.
So I think that might be a first in a long time for me in the city council. Okay. A lot of my questions have been answered satisfactory, but I got one question. When will that construction of Phase 1 be done, if it all goes right?
Fair question. Go ahead. Can somebody answer that one, please? Timing, when will Phase 1 be done?
End of next year.
End of next year?
2019.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
And the last speaker is Mac Worthy.
There's one other person who signed up. Did you sign up, ma'am? Oh. Okay, well, it's okay. I'm going to allow it. Go ahead. It's a new year.
Housing. People, you got to, I don't oppose more housing because you're not short of housing in this town. If you really do your research, you're not short of housing. But when you got a place like this, it's the same thing as CB Circle. This organization here is running a mini welfare. You should be interested in housing instead of education and taking care of babies and people's health. That's another vision. So when you put those together, you are another welfare. So that's really the money. It's too much money. When you speak of 480 homes, and when we look at per million, it's 50 housing. That's good building. 50 housing per million. When we look at 800 housing, which should yield 3 bedrooms, you should be building nothing under 3 bedrooms now because your population growth of babies, because the government got a law of 10-year-olds, female and male can be in the same room. So deal with that law, and you got $960,000 out of 800 units. That $960,000 equal to $1,200 a month, which they will not pay utilities. Help the people if you want to help them. The landlord can write off utilities. People can't write off utilities. Wake up. Do something to help people. Then you talk about a trust fund of $5 million. We look at a trust fund and split it. At 2.5 will yield $6,000 on each end. Borrow the 4 and do what you're going to do, and you got to kick in when it come back in. You see what I'm saying? A back burner on it. Dealing with the trust fund is the most strategic weapons there is. You only want to get a 3. But if you got bonds already for this, you're still going to be in debt. Trust fund will be your debt. You can also periodically pay on the principal, and you're going to draw that interest at the end of the year out of 3. Every month, going to kick out. Then you can pay somebody over there and pay somebody over there. Do something here with this housing, because they're going to come down here and be sad soon in the state of California about housing, where you going to own too much at government level, and that's the reason you fell on your face when the federal government were here.
And our last speaker is Trina Roberts.
Tina.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor. It's Tina Roberts. I hadn't planned on speaking on this matter, but I do believe in divine intervention. So I decided to speak on this matter. Roberts Family Development Center has provided services in the Twin Rivers housing complex for almost 10 years. First as an after-school provider, and in the last 3 to 4 years as a preschool. We are so in support of the efforts here. We have a great relationship with the families, so we welcome the change. What's really sad is that we're not going to be a part of that change. And it's not because we're not wanted. It's not because they have not tried to figure out. It's not because our council person hasn't tried to help us, but no one's come up with a way to ensure that we continue to provide services to the children that are going to be there. The school district that we have a contract with value our services. We've been with Twin River School District over 15 years. And so I'm asking the council, is there any way that anything that you all can do to help support us, support our city council person, and housing and redevelopment to ensure that we can continue to provide services in that district?
Well, my answer is yes. If again, I just think we need to understand what the problem here is exactly and what the tools are to potentially solve it. And Councilmember Warren, do you want to?
It's actually Harris, Councilman Harris.
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, Councilman Warren was up, but yeah.
Well, no, I was just, you hit the nail on the head, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to know, Tina, if there's specific things that could be done to help create an avenue for you to be connected back to the project.
What's the problem here? Ms. Dozier, do we know what the issue is? What, Tina, do you know what?
So the issue is that there's not enough funding for us. The designs have been made, but if we could come up with enough funding, I'm sure that a space could be created for us.
Is this not during the 2-year construction period? This is once it's rebuilt, you're saying there isn't enough space for you. for the program. Is that what you're saying? You have space now at the existing Twin Rivers.
We
I've
have
been there.
space until the end of June, and then we're not there anymore.
And
And we
there's no-
understand that. They need to tear down the building where we're
Understand,
at.
but you're saying that when it's rebuilt,
Right.
you want to ensure that there's still room for community-based providers like Roberts Family Development
And
Center.
initially, we were part of the planning process,
Okay.
and, we were always part of the change. And then, I'm not sure exactly what happened. I'm sure they're more
Well, let's,
astute than I am on what happened, but somehow the funding for that, for us to remain somehow
Okay,
didn't happen
Councilman
anymore.
Harris, do you have any insight on this?
I was trying to punch up, but
I'm sorry.
I got caught up on the top there.
There you go.
You know, Tina.
I don't know, you need to punch up again. There you go.
All right. I'm not exactly sure what the real hang-up here is, but I think there are possibilities ahead. It's going to be quite a while until this population is situated back at Twin Rivers. And in the interim, there are several possibilities that I would like to explore. I think there's a possibility to work with SCOE and possibly create a space at Smythe Academy. We'll certainly be turning over the pages and see what we can do to create that opportunity for you. And, we'll continue to talk to the developer and SHRA and see if there's a way to incorporate, perhaps in another phase of the project. So there's a path ahead, but it's going to take some work to get there, as near as I can say. But I do want to tell you that I feel you've provided a great service to the community at Twin Rivers, and something of true value. And I will certainly expend a lot of energy to try to provide that path for you to continue your really valuable work.
And thank you. I appreciate your support so far. And I appreciate Housing and Redevelopment willing to work with us. They value our work as well and want us to be there. It's that we just need to come together to figure it out.
Now you've put the issue square on the agenda here, so let's go to work to try to figure it out, because we want great family service providers to be able to continue to provide the same level of service, the same people, the same families with the same challenges here.
Thank you.
Okay? Good.
Thank you for coming, Tina.
Yeah, Rick? Mr. Mayor?
I just want to say that from the standpoint of the urgency of getting this done in phase one is very important. So I think the longer it takes as we go into phase two and beyond, that means there are no services there for families that are already being disrupted. So you've got 9 years of services there, excellent services being provided to the citizens. They're going to need those services. And so I think this has to be figured out in phase one as opposed to going beyond phase one. We're already talking about 2 years before phase one is completed. And so as we go into phase 2 or 3, then that makes it even longer. And I think that disrupts the lives of the children and the families that are there.
Yeah.
So if there's a way that we can come together and figure this out, now would be the time to do that. And I know Councilmember Harris is working adamantly. So if you have some solutions, I think we need to hear all the solutions now, because this needs to happen sooner than later.
Yes, go ahead if you...
Yusuf Freeman with McCormick Barron Salazar. We're the housing development partner with SHRA on the implementation of the revitalization of Twin Rivers. So we were procured to do this work approximately 6 years ago, and immediately our services provider partner, Urban Strategies, began community engagement and partnership with other service providers who provide direct services to the residents at Twin Rivers. And after we were awarded the Choice Neighborhoods grant from HUD, we had about $4.5 million that were specific toward community supportive services and that coordination. And that coordination has gone on for the past 3 years and will continue to go on throughout supporting relocation, demolition, infrastructure, housing, and as the new housing comes on board, then the operating budgets from those housing phases will be available to provide ongoing services in perpetuity in each development. So I just want to make sure that everyone's aware that there won't be a gap there in services. Specific to Robert's family, actually, would like to meet with them again because we actually had planned early childhood education space in the second phase. I don't know the answer of where the community and everyone came together in terms of who would be the operator of that early childhood education space. But within our first phase, we have 2 very large community facilities for comprehensive community supportive services coordination, including intensive case management, job training, education, and children's programming. So I do want to...
There may be some disconnect or some misunderstanding here. And so I think if you could meet with Tina and her team, please, and clarify, and then get back to us here, because if this isn't resolved, it will continue to fester. And this is a success. It's a winner. You're doing good things here, but this is a very valued this is a very valued program here, and that it's reassuring to hear that there are 2 large community spaces in the first phase. I think maybe there needs to be maybe some more conversation so that this can be worked out.
Absolutely.
Okay? There's a room back there. Well, you can go back there right now if you wanted to. Exactly right. I mean, with Tina, if you'd like, whatever. But thanks. Yusuf, thanks. Okay. Good. All right. That's the public testimony. We do have, do we have a motion on this item, please?
I'm happy to move all of the staff.
Okay. Okay. Very good. It's close the public hearing. Move the item. It's been moved and seconded by Councilman Carr. Yes, sir.
Prior to voting, I just want to make sure we got the assurances, and I know we heard from the developer, but oftentimes, once the agreements and all the actions have taken place, the formalities, sometimes some of these things that might be significant prior to a vote, they become less significant after an action. I just want your assurances that you're going to meet with Tina Roberts and her family right away in Durrell and try to figure out how to implement them in the ongoing project.
Absolutely, and I apologize. Our services team isn't here this evening, and so I don't have all the details about all the service providers that are being coordinated there. But I do know that we have full-time staff at Twin Rivers 5 days a week. That includes a senior project manager on the services side and at least 2 case managers that provide intensive case management and service coordination. They have also directly hired residents to work with other residents in organizing health classes and healthy living classes and other services to make sure that residents are coming out and participating. So we do have a comprehensive program that's in place. Robert's family has been a partner in that and one of the service providers that has been coordinated. As we move into implementation and the breadth of those service providers grows, I don't have all the details of all the service providers that will be there.
I know, but I guess what I'm looking to hear is just that you're committed to finding a path for people who have worked in this population before and have done a good job, and that your organization is committed to trying to work out whatever arrangements necessary in order to include them in the ongoing project.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Good. Yeah. Thank you. All right. With those assurances, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. That passes unanimously. Congratulations. 14 million. Not a bad day's work. Go get them. Thanks so much. Let's move on to item 16. Who's presenting on item 16? All right. Matter dies for lack of a presentation.
And the motion is to continue.
Oh, it's the motion is to continue the item. Ah, no wonder there's not a presenter.
I'll make a motion to continue the item.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? After much controversy, the motion is continued. The measure is continued. Okay. We now move to file item 17, which I kind of jumped the gun earlier because this is an important thing for our city and our council. And the first meeting of the new calendar year under the city rules and tradition, the mayor gets the responsibility and the honor to appoint the vice mayor, an important position for our city. Of course, subject to the full ratification and approval of the city council. And the vice mayor is a very important role because not only does he or she serve in the absences of the mayor as the spokesperson for our city, but also provides over city council meetings when the mayor is not present. And I have pretty good attendance, but sometimes other duties on behalf of the city require the mayor to be gone, and also to represent the mayor and the city at vital city functions. And certainly no one has done it with as much passion and sincerity as the gentleman who's going to hand over the vice mayor gavel tonight, and that is current Vice Mayor Rick Jennings. I feel so lucky that during my first year as mayor, as I returned to the city council after many years away, that I had Rick as my right hand and as the vice mayor. Not only the way that you handle yourself in all situations, the way you preside over meetings when I'm not there, some would say even better than the way I preside over the meetings, which I think is a real compliment to you, and the way you work in the community, not only in your own district, but the way you represented the city throughout and represented me, deeply appreciative, and you helped provide a very seamless transition for a new administration. And so you've done this for 2 years, and so you recognize, I know, that it is time that we give someone else the opportunity. And you know, I've thought about it, and certainly everyone on this dais is highly qualified, and some of you have served in the position. But I have a clear recommendation, and it's my honor to ask to appoint Councilmember Steve Hansen to the job as Vice Mayor. Steve, give him a hand. Come on. You bring a wide-ranging intellect to this city and to this council. You are unafraid to dive into the myriad of complicated issues, not only in your district and throughout the city. And you have exhibited a lot of citywide leadership as well. And, you know, many reasons, it's your qualifications, and it's the fact that you've served and served so ably that I'm confident that, I know the council is confident, that you will do a great job. And we're always trying to break new ground in our city too, you know, to be the first LGBT member to serve as vice mayor, I think is also a very significant advance for our city. And so I hope that you will agree to accept this position, appreciate your leadership, and we'll be calling on you many times over the course of the next year to stand in, to sit in, and to do this job. And I know you do it very, very well, Steve. So that's my recommendation. And I'd happily take a motion on that. So moved. Second, third. I think this is going to go well. That's just my feeling. The vote, I mean, tonight. Steve, you want to say anything?
I think there are other people.
There are other people first. Councilman Harris?
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, I was going to make the motion, but you beat me to the punch. You know, I've had the pleasure of sitting next to Steve for these last 3 years and to work with him on a number of issues. We share some constituency in terms of the rail yards project and the river district, and of course his district abuts mine on a lot of boundary. So we talk often, and we talk about issues. Steve is incredibly knowledgeable, and I can tell you he is very dedicated to the health and welfare of the city and his constituents. So I'm happy to support this motion.
Good. Thank you so much. Councilman Carr?
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I want to thank Rick Jennings for his service for the last 2 years. The most visible part being, the most visible part being when he chairs the meetings when the mayor is not here or when the mayor has to get up, and that's what everyone sees. But the most trying part is representing the city in the mayor's absence and representing us as council members to the public at all of the events that have to be attended where the city needs to be represented. And it's taken a toll of, it takes time. Each one of these events will take a considerable amount of time out of your day and evening and night. And you have done this in an exemplary way, and I really thank you for doing that. Thank you for stepping up and doing it, and I appreciate the way that you conduct the meetings. Mr. Hanson represents the part of our city that people think of when they think of Sacramento. We know that Sacramento is made up of all of our districts, but when people outside of the area think of Sacramento, they think of downtown. And Steve has represented that part of Sacramento that is most visible to everyone else. And he is the one that takes on all of these major projects that are coming to our city, and he's done them really, really well and tackled some issues that are hard to overcome, like the tram that we're going to run from West Sac to where the vote initially went against Steve and his group. And when I asked him about it, he said, we're going to find the money somewhere else. And not many people could do that, Steve. I appreciate your stepping up. I know you're going to get out and represent this city well. I just ask that you and the mayor consider ways that we can make this council meeting more efficient and how we can stick to the issues that come before the council without a lot of extraneous verbiage, and deal with what's in front of us, vote, and move on. So I know, have the utmost confidence that you and the mayor will be able to work that out. Thank you, Mayor.
You're here. No extraneous verbiage. Councilman Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I, too, first want to thank Vice Mayor Jennings. I think Rick has done an exceptional job representing our city. And, you know, those of us that intimately know Rick know that Rick is essentially like a coach. You know, he's always positive and competitive and, you know, always looking to bring people together and to improve things where we can. And Rick, I want to say it was a joy watching you sit in for the mayor. I would say that, you know, the mayor has his uniqueness in how he runs the meetings, and particularly when he's challenged sometimes. And, you know, it tickled me sometimes to see how there were some similarities between the two of you. They were subtle, but there were some similarities. And I could see sometimes how you would get frustrated, but you always managed, you know, to stay composed because, I mean, unless you're sitting here, you really don't understand some of the different pressures and decisions and things we have to do. And so I think you handled it with grace. You represented the mayor extremely well, I think. And then secondly, I want to say to the mayor, Mr. Mayor, you've made an excellent choice in our colleague, Councilman Hanson. Steve and I came on the council at the same time and didn't know each other prior to, but had a chance to meet as we were campaigning. And over the years, I've really seen Steve display just an intellect, you know, a knowledge, and even in cases where there was a lot of work required to really figure out how to get things done, you've put the time in. And so I want to say that, you know, it could have easily happened sooner for you. But the mayor has recognized it and has made you the vice mayor, or has nominated you for the vice mayor, and I was happy to second it. I'm happy to see you serve as vice mayor, and I think you're going to do an exceptional job. So thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. Jay, Councilman Chenier.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Rick and I have been at this a long time. Long time, probably, other than you, I think the longest in public service now, and have kind of traded off on a lot of things. I had absolutely no doubts that Rick would do an excellent job as vice mayor, and I think he's exceeded all of those expectations. The transition between the last mayor and you was an important one when we think about the continuity of the city and how the city is run and the leadership here, and I think we all made, with you, a conscious decision to do a 2-year piece on this because of that continuity, and I think it was really important, and I think it paid off well, and I think the city benefited extremely from it. So, Rick, thank you for all the work. Thank you for your temperament, and I'm not sure I see the same similarities between these two guys, but there's but I'm going to keep looking. And so, thank you for all the work you've done. I think it's been exemplary. And it doesn't mean that your work is ending. It just means you get to do a few different things. On the other side of the coin here, you know, I think this council is an excellent council, and part of why we're excellent is because we all bring different things to the party here. And it's that combination that we have that really, for Sacramento in this exciting time, is important and why it's been successful. And Steve, I think you are the right person at the right time to really help us continue to take that next step and continue to move forward. So, Mayor, I think it's an excellent choice, and I would have seconded it if I'd been a little faster, but, you know, not so fast these days. But I want to say congratulations and look forward to the vote and look forward to continuing to serve with you.
Thank you, Jay. Council member to Vice Mayor to be Hanson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, all of you. If I count my votes right, I think I don't have to worry too much about the vote itself. But I first just want to thank you, Mayor, for the very kind and gracious words. But it really means a lot to me from my colleagues to have you share that confidence. You know, any one of us can do this job, and indeed, several of you have already done this job. But I see it as an opportunity to provide all of you with service, to get to know you better, but to heed Larry Carr's words and solicit advice and to learn and grow through this experience with you. So with that, I will take Larry's advice and just say thank you. I look forward to serving. And this was a very efficient comment. I hope it qualifies for a performance benefit.
It's a great start. Excellent.
I want to vote twice now.
All in favor of the motion to make Steve Hansen next Vice Mayor for the calendar year 2018, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. Congratulations. Way to go. Very good. Let's move to item 18, please, which is the authorization to hire temporary principal planner. This should be relatively routine, please. Go ahead.
I just need your waiver of the 180 days.
What's that?
I just need your waiver of the 180 days to bring back the retired annuitant.
Very good. We've done this a couple times. There's no public testimony. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstained. Thank you. Very good. That passes. Let's move to two very important information reports to conclude the evening. I know we have a lot of people in the audience here, and we're going to, of course, give thorough attention to both these items. One is the Crocker Art Museum 2017 Year in Review. Ms. Jones, I see you here and your team. Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council, Vice Mayor-elect, Vice Mayor. I'm Lyle Jones, the museum's director, and I'm delighted to be here tonight. You know, the Crocker is the city's asset, and since 1885, the Crocker Art Museum and the City of Sacramento have had a unique and productive partnership. As co-trustees, the Crocker Art Museum Association and the city are jointly responsible for the museum's successes. As we present our year in review for 2017, I hope you'll feel proud of what we have accomplished together. I'm pleased to introduce you to one of the Crocker's key employees, a City of Sacramento staff member and the Crocker's Director of Education, Stacy Shelnut Hendricks. I want Stacy to do the primary overview of the museum's programs in 2017 because I want you to know the tremendous staff the museum has and that you have in Stacy. But I also want to take this opportunity to bring to your attention that last March in New York City, the National Art Education Association elected Stacy as the 2017 Art Museum Educator of the Year. And I don't think you've had an opportunity.
Congratulations, Neil.
That award was given, of course, because Stacy's fabulous, but was also given because the Crocker's exemplary programs and the position of leadership that the museum has throughout the entire museum field. So with that, I'd like to introduce Stacy Shelnut Hendricks.
Thank you. Congratulations, Stacy.
Thank you very
Proud of
much. I appreciate it. I know you all individually, some of you, and you're such nice people, but together you're so formidable. It's like, wow.
We're not that
take
formidable,
a Superman pose
believe
to
me.
get, like, through this. But I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity. As Lyle said, I am a city employee, and I'm excited to talk a little bit about what the city has meant to the Crocker and what the Crocker has done for the city over the last year. 2017 has been a really wonderful and robust year for us. We got to kick it off with our New Year event, which you see here. This event is a fabulous event. We usher in the new year every year with it. This year we had the pleasure of having the mayor and Councilmember Harris join us for that event.
It's a great, great event, by the way. Got hundreds of families, and it's really fun.
And what makes it great is that we do a global celebration, and it really reflects sort of the city. It's very diverse. There's so many different families there, it's types of families, and it's really an exciting way to start off the new year. After that, we move into February. And in February, we had a tremendous day of a different type. We commemorated the anniversary of the Executive Order of 9066, which put Japanese Americans in internment camps through a day of remembrance. And to mark the 75th anniversary, we had 7.5 hours of programming. It included reading every name of every Sacramento citizen that was put into a camp. We had students reading, we had key leaders in Sacramento reading. It was a very moving event. And I don't know if you can think back to February of 2017, but it was around the same time in which President Trump issued the ban on Muslim nations. And people came out. They came out to really talk, to show their, their thoughts about the issue. And it was nice that the Crocker could be that place, that sort of safe space to actually have those types of conversations. And so we were really excited to be part of that. Also to say, in 1942, when Japanese Americans were put into the camps, because the Crocker was in the center of Japantown, we actually harbored many of the art and artifacts that families had to leave behind. We had, like museums do, a registration process where we took those artifacts and we held them until people came out of the camps. And so it just sort of typifies how the Crocker is a key aspect of the community and plays a role of a good neighbor. In March of 2017, just like in most months, you can come to the Crocker and you can see phenomenal programs that we do every month. One of the things that I wanted to highlight are our art and wellness programs. Each month we do programs related to meditation. We have programs related to memory loss. We call that program Meet Me in the Museum. And people dealing with memory care issues can come to the museum, and because of the stories they hear through art, their memory gets jogged and it helps sort of keep them in the present. We also have a wonderful partnership with UC Davis Pain Management Institute focused on people with chronic pain. That program, ArtRx, happens once a month in which people come when people come, they have a moment where not only do they forget their pain at the time, but also we've studied it, and after has residual effects to help people with chronic pain. So that's a program that you can come usually every month, but then we move to the springtime. And in the springtime, we really kick up our Block by Block program. And many of you know that our Block by Block program was sort of small when we started. We started focusing on people who weren't coming to the Crocker, because the Crocker really believes that we should serve people where they are. And we focused on districts 2, 5, and 8 initially, and we've been able to grow that initiative a little bit larger and work, I think, in everybody's district. Some of the exciting things have been participating in like the Shabazz Family Day that we did in District 7. We've done amazing things in District 2. I think this picture actually is of the block party that we had done in front of Grant High School. And in 2017, we've been working with Tina and Robert to plan a new block party because that hit such a chord with the community members that they wanted to do it again. We've done different types of things in District 5, where we worked with Jay when he did his way up bicycle. What do you call that, Jay? That thing that I can't do. That bicycle thing, when he rode and rode and rode for his citizens of his community. So we try to support all the districts in a variety of ways. We also, and the next slide will show you, really delve deep into District 8. And thanks to Councilmember Carr and his wonderful office, we worked with 8 artists to do different trees for a project we call Poet Tree. And the project is where they all did different trees that typify and symbolize what they thought of Sacramento and District 8 in particular. And these trees will go out throughout District 8. They'll be in libraries, in different parks. And they will actually perform essentially the backdrop of different like poetry flash mobs that we'll put online. And you'll see the trees and you'll see different artists sort of expressing themselves through art in different ways. Next slide. One of the things that the Crocker is famous for are excellent exhibitions. In the summertime of 2017, we had 2 phenomenal exhibitions. And I think they both represent 2 different ways the Crocker operates. One exhibition was Full Spectrum. It was paintings by Raymond Stackrans. And this exhibition, we really focused on excellence in scholarship. There were different programs that we did, like we always do, related to a special exhibition, but we also are traveling that exhibition to San Jose Art Museum. We travel many of the exhibitions at the Crocker to different places. Right now, I think actually on Sunday, we just closed our Demoncorn exhibition. That one's traveling to Oregon, Maryland, I think Indiana, and as well as Florida. So we're excited about that. We also had a great exhibition called Turning the Page, High Fructose. The first 10 years. High Fructose is a magazine that I have to be honest, I never heard of it until we had the exhibition. It has contemporary, really edgy art. And for this exhibition, we call it like a sneak blockbuster. It was like the Norman Rockwell of a different kind. It had people come out that we really don't see coming out for exhibitions. Maybe we see them coming out for programs, but not so much for exhibitions. It was millennial groups in droves. They loved this exhibition. It had this installation by Mark Dean Vecca in it, and we're excited to say that Mark Dean Vecca is going to come back and do an installation that will be semi-permanent at the Crocker in 2018. So that's a wonderful exhibition. This exhibition also went along with Art Mix Sugar Rush, and that's a program that we see every month about 1,000 to 1,500 people come to. And Art Mix is this Thursday night, and I want to invite you all to attend it, because it's a Crocker you don't really see. It's a Crocker you have to see with like a drink in your hand. It's a Crocker that is going to have masquerades, masks, ballroom dancing, a lot of fun things. One of the things we should say is throughout the year of 2017, we actually added over 250 works to the collection. We are known throughout the country for being really excellent as far as our exhibition and collection standards. People don't give their works of art to just anyone. The Crocker is actually the only accredited art museum in Sacramento. It's the only only museum accredited in Sacramento, and so we're very proud of that. Since we've moved into the Teal Family Pavilion, we've actually added over 7,000 works of art to the collection, and that collection just keeps on growing. And that collection is, of course, the city of Sacramento, so we're proud of that. In September, we really get back to school. The Crocker serves over 30,000 school children per year, and we serve them through a variety of programs. We do programs not only at the museum, tours that focus on the history of California, tours that focus on art, tours that focus on just sort of how the things that people value, but we also have a number of school groups that actually get to have our art arc, which is pictured here. And you actually see Councilmember Ashby in this picture, and her daughter visited the art arc this fall. So that's a program that goes out to different schools. We serve 18,000 families, students and teachers just on the art arc alone. And we're really excited about that. The installation that we had when this picture was taken is called Color in Art, Science, and Nature. And it is a STEM-related curriculum, and we'll be rolling out a new art arc next year. As well, in November, we also offered art spots. And I don't know if you've gotten a chance to see our art spots. I know Councilman Harris and his daughter Lily was at the Crocker, and they probably got to see Wingding, and that was something we opened in the fall. The art spots are specially designed art installations for children 5 and under. The Crocker has really focused on early childhood over the last 5 years. We have received considerable funding, thank goodness, from the First Five of Sacramento to do a suite of family programs. We have programs like Baby Loves Art, We Wednesday, Artful Tot, as well as Sunday Play Day. All of those programs happen at least once a month. We Wednesday is a program that happens weekly for 3 to 5-year-olds, and it really focuses on making sure that children are ready to attend kindergarten and make sure that they have both the social and academic skill sets they need to do that. We also have adopted a few schools in doing museum and residence programs. We've done them not only in Sacramento, but also in West Sac, and that's a program that we hope to continue and do more of. I want to just say that the Crocker is one of those places that it's hard to sort of describe in a year, but one of the things we wanted to do was sort of give you a sense of how we approach the community. And we approach it in a way that we like to think we would approach it if we were just neighbors. You know, we want to borrow a cup of sugar from somebody. We want them to be able to borrow a cup of sugar from us. We want to be there in times of need. We want to be there in good times and bad times. And we want to have fun with our neighbors. And I think the Crocker has provided an opportunity not only for people to enjoy themselves and be entertained, but also a place to have really safe conversations about how the things that are happening in the world affect our lives. And so I thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Stacy. Very thorough. I just have to say I was surprised, happily surprised to hear that in 2017, the Crocker hosted some 600 plus events. I mean, that's more than one event a day, either around youth or around health, around any of the categories that you just described. And I think
it's hard to put in words. Like just even today, we had. We had Art Break, we had Artful Tot this week, rather. You know, that even in 1 week, we had like several.
So you're going to come forward sometime in this calendar year or soon to talk about expansion plans? Is that?
In fact, I'm going to do that right now,
well,
a little bit.
Briefly, please, Lyle.
So
okay.
I just want to say last year we did welcome over 275,000 visitors. That makes the Crocker the 44th highest art museum visitation in North America, just so you know that, the 44th in North America. Of those people, 85,000 came from outside the Sacramento region, and 25,000 came from outside the state of California or outside the United States. So we have become, in fact, a major player in cultural tourism for our region. And as a Sacramento gem, we do help define the city. We offer visitors experiences like others that we've had, no others that they've had. And we aren't just a place where people learn, we're a place where people gather, celebrate, mourn, have fun, and a diversity of experiences is important to us, and it's important to our visitors. Visitors tell us that they not only value what we offer, we make them feel good about the city of Sacramento. They appreciate that the Crocker is charismatic, energetic, active, and responsive with multifaceted exhibitions, programs, and event schedules. When we opened the Teal Family Pavilion 7 years ago, we said that we would make the Crocker matter, and we have delivered on our promise. We've also helped usher in a new can-do attitude throughout this city. The museum's expansion was made possible by private individuals and by city leaders. They came together and they do what folks said at that time was impossible. But we knew the expansion was possible, we knew it was absolutely necessary, and we also knew that what really made it happen was civic pride. Folks loving our city and wanting to make it better. Those individuals and more have been very much aware of the fact that we're coming up on our 10th anniversary in 2010. And they're thinking very much, as all business leaders do, about what's next, about the fact that as an institution, if you don't continue to grow, you decline. So they've been looking at how to make sure that we can make the Crocker continue to be the jewel of Sacramento. We've done an asset inventory, and we've also taken stock of our various infrastructure issues. One of the things that we want to do is maximize underutilized assets. And the main one of those is the unimproved lot of land across the street from the museum, commonly referred to as Crocker Park. You all know that Crocker Park is not an actual park. Crocker donors acquired it in the 1970s, and it's still largely the same today. The space, underdeveloped, underutilized, and it certainly doesn't connect with the rest of Sacramento's downtown, and nor is it a part of the city's transformation at this point. We believe Crocker Park can and should be a great civic amenity, a place that can be activated 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. We also think that looking at how to make Crocker Park an attraction will further develop Sacramento's downtown and riverfront areas. It will attract more visitors to the area, and it will be more physically and visually connected to the downtown core. We want a public space that will offer people new ways to explore and discover our city and engage both those who love art and, as I like to say, those who don't know they love it yet. City and Crocker staff are currently working on a request for qualifications that will help us select designers that will, with your help, continue to make the Crocker a major catalyst that brings people together and connects them in unexpected ways with art, ideas, each other, and the world around them. We often say that our primary goal at the museum is to make Sacramento a better place, and I know that's a goal that we share with all of you, and I think together we can continue to have great impact on our community. So, thank you.
Thank you. More to come, I know, in terms of how to utilize that park. And
it's going to be a great design challenge, and one I'm confident that we're all up to.
Good. Can't wait.
Thank you.
Know we need more capacity, more capital in this city to be able to dream big and do even more for great assets, with great assets like the Crocker.
You know, the museum has, as I said, great, well, we've said that we want to make the museum essential to people in Sacramento, but we also have great national and international significance. Stacy was just talking about some of the things that are happening this week. One that's happening on Thursday, the museum is hosting the inaugural 3-day conference entitled Flame. That's the Forum on Leadership in Museum Education. And art museum directors, education directors from across the country are descending on Sacramento because of what your institution does for this community.
Thank you. We do have some public testimony and a couple council members for this information item.
I have 4 speakers on that item. The first is Jennifer Sita, Ian Kobner, and then Selena Gonzalez-Cortez. So Jennifer?
Hello, good evening. My name is Jennifer Seda. I am a stay-at-home mom to 2 daughters, ages 6 and 4. My involvement with the Crocker began when I volunteered for the Teal Family Pavilion grand opening celebration on October 10th, 2010. I moved to Sacramento in 2002, and I had never been to any event downtown where there was more palpable excitement and energy. Not only were people thrilled to check out the new addition, but everyone was also so happy to see the architectural gem that was built downtown. It truly felt like a wheel was turning as far as getting the momentum for downtown development and revival. I became a member of the museum after the opening and gave birth to my first child. We started attending the Crocker's Wee Wednesday program every week, where we met and became friends with many families that we never would have met otherwise. After the formal Wee Wednesday program ended each Wednesday, a few of the other families in mine would stay at the Crocker, pack our lunches, and picnic in the courtyard. The children would run and play and have the best afternoon while the parents would chat and hang out. It was a safe, fun, welcoming, and beautiful environment for my children and I to spend our time each Wednesday. The Crocker was a wonderful place for me to find at that moment in my life. To this day, I'm still taking my daughter's friends and their families to the Crocker. Many of them have never been to the Crocker, and I love to show them that you don't need to be an art historian or art expert to enjoy the museum. The Crocker is a place for everyone, and I'm very thankful for the Crocker and their many wonderful programs. Thanks.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ian Kobner, and then Selena Gonzalez-Cortez.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Ian Kobner, and I'm the Director of Integrative Pain Medicine at the University of California, Davis, and an Assistant Professor in the Department of Anesthesiology and Pain Medicine. And in 2014, we initiated a program called ArtRx with the Crocker, in which the Crocker just incredibly generously offers free specialized tours to any individual that's not just a UC Davis patient, any individual who self-identifies as having chronic pain. And what started out as a pilot program has now blossomed into, let's call it a fledgling public health partnership. And it's the first public health partnership between a major art museum and a tertiary academic pain center in the world. And we've served hundreds of people. This year we'll be publishing 2 academic articles about it, hopefully followed by some lay press. And we've already given presentations both nationally and internationally on the program, and it's poised to transform what pain management can be. Just some background on pain. The Institute of Medicine estimates that 100 million Americans have chronic pain, and that's not mention of the opioid epidemic. And they've called for a cultural transformation around pain management that embraces the addressing of the social isolation that's inherent in chronic illness. And the Crocker has just been an incredible ally to the patients that we serve, and is really a point of pride and a landmark program within the Division of Pain Medicine at UC Davis. It's also blossomed into other programming, meditation programs, and we look forward to continuing with them.
All these connections, really, it's impressive. Thank you. Thank you for
Selena
testifying.
Gonzalez-Cortez, and then Jackie Rose.
Hola, mucho gusto, me llamo Selena Gonzalez. For all you that don't speak Spanish, hi, my name's Selena. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a Sacramento State student. My major is art, and I work for the Crocker Art Museum as the Art Corps Fellow for Block by Block. I moved to Sacramento 2.5 years ago to attend Sac State, and I live in District 6. One of the best decisions I have ever made was applying for an internship at the Crocker Art Museum. I was a volunteer at the block parties and was blown away by the impact it was having in Districts 2, 5, and 8. Later on, I became an Art Corps Fellow. I guess they like me. I have visited many different communities in Sacramento and have had the pleasure of meeting many Sacramento residents. One story that has stuck with me is when I did an outreach at Summer Night Lights at Valley High Community Center in South Sacramento, District 8. There I met a mother of 3 who came to the table to do the art activity I was bringing to them. I noticed her kids were talking to her in Spanish, so I began speaking with all of them in Spanish. I did this outreach at this location over the summer, and the mom was very comfortable talking to me, and she said it was nice being able to speak with me since most of the people there didn't speak Spanish. On my last day there, I told her that I wouldn't be coming back. She wished me well, and I wished her well too, and she said she hoped to see me again next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last speaker on this item is Jackie Rose.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. It gives me great pleasure to speak on this item simply because I've been working with the Crocker over the last 10 years with Stacy and her staff. And when we started working with the Crocker, we started working with them because in the community in South Sacramento, our families didn't know anything about the Crocker, what the Crocker had to offer, or any of those things. So we started to sit down with them, and they came and did focus groups in our community right there at Phoenix Park, apartments, where we got the community involved and really started talking about the arts. We also started looking at ways we can engage young people into the arts, and we started a 85-voice choir of young kids from Parkway Elementary School that went all around the city and started singing. They participated in lots of events at the Crocker. They also sung at the Crocker Ball and lots of things down there with Stacy and her group. She also gave them a platform so they could come down there and perform. We didn't just have that choir, and I will just tell you that all of you guys probably know about Phoenix Park, which used to be Franklin Villa. The trauma that went on in that community, the arts was a savior. It really was a savior for those young people and those families in that community. So when we started working with the Crocker and really started looking at exposing those families to the arts, things started to change. The academics started to change. That whole community started to change. So the impact was to bring those families together and to really look at giving them something different and dealing with some of the trauma that they had went to. Now those families, and along with those kids, have a seat at the table where they are working side by side with the Crocker and all of the wonderful projects in South Sacramento. Those trees that Stacy just mentioned are getting ready to be out at Phoenix Park, Providence Place, and at John Steele Middle School. So we're excited about what Stacy and her staff has done for us in South Sacramento, and I just want to say thank you so much.
Good, thank you. We do have a couple council members who want to comment. Jay, Councilmember Chenier is our representative, city's representative on the Crocker board.
Thanks. First of all, Stacy, congratulations. You know, we talk a lot about the Crocker as being one of the jewels of the region, and you're certainly one of the jewels of the Crocker, so thank you so much for what you do. It's wonderful. I've had really the pleasure and the honor of sitting as the trustee for the city on the Crocker board for the last 7 years, and it's been a great experience. And just a couple of things. One is, I think it's one of the best run boards and institutions that we have in the region, and we all sit on many, many boards, and so I've experienced all of those. But Lyle does a great job, and the board, there's no extra verbiage at the meetings, Mr. Carr. It's all business. It's all business all the time, and they've gotten a tremendous amount done as you think about where they are and where they're situated in the city. What's really been a pleasure and what I wanted to comment on was how over the period of time that I've been there and been able to watch, the Crocker has continually pushed the boundaries of what it does. And whether you're talking about block by block or New Year's Eve or all of the 600 events that they do, they're really doing, I think, a fabulous job reaching out to all communities here in the Sacramento area and really providing something within the arts and not for this entire community. I mean, it says Crocker Museum, but it's really about the Crocker as an institution for Sacramento. So it goes way beyond, I think, any traditional definition that we may have of what a museum is or what a museum can provide. Mr. Mayor, I know you want to get on to the next item, so I'm going to stop there, but I just want to say thank you to the Crocker, reach out to their board and Kama and say thank you, and I hope that all of my colleagues here are taking full advantage of what the Crocker can provide for their communities, and not just at the building of the Crocker, but actually coming out into the communities, and that's been a real pleasure to watch and something that I think is so critically important for the future of this community. I'm looking forward. We actually had a meeting with the city manager today to start talking more about the potential expansion of the Crocker, what we can do with the park, what we can do to solve some logistical challenges that the Crocker has, and look forward to working with you and the entire council and the city manager to make all of that a reality as soon as we can. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate this presentation because for so long I thought the Crocker was only working with District 8. And you came to so many of our events. And, you know, we got to know Stacy and Daphne and the rest of the staff by name. And this doesn't happen by mistake. It comes from the leadership at the Crocker. It comes from the board at the Crocker. You've enriched people's lives. And I give you my thank you. And you have made the Crocker come out from the walls and get out to the community where people would never have an opportunity or be exposed to what the Crocker can provide. So thank you from District 8 and the rest of the council.
Thank you. Councilman Harris.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you also. You know, the Crockers played a big role in the development of my daughter, and probably for me too. And so many people in my district, excuse me. So I just want to say the Crocker rocks.
I think mission accomplished tonight. It's excellent. Thank you very much. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Appreciate it. We move to the last item, but not the least item of the evening, maybe the most important item of the evening, which is the annual report on the Reducing African American Child Deaths Initiative. And we have Chet Hewitt here, of course, the President and CEO of the Sierra Health Foundation and the Center, after our own Khalid Matagi to present. Khalid, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor Steinberg and members of the City Council. Khalid Mutaki with the City Manager's Office. I just want to real briefly just give a little context for the council. Then I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Chet Hewitt for the presentation. City Council approved $750,000 as part of the mid-year budget back in February 2016 to support the implementation of the strategic plan for the Reducing African American Child Deaths Initiative, which is now known as the Black Child Legacy Campaign, but I'll let Mr. Hewitt talk about that. In October 2016 of that same year, we approved a contract to have Sierra Health Foundation and their Center for Health Program Management be the lead agency for implementation and administration of those funds. I've had the opportunity to work closely with the steering committee on various projects, and I'll have to say that the amount of work and the quality of work that's been produced over the last year has been impressive. And we talked a lot in the region about collective impact as a theory of sustainable social change. And we keep trying to improve on it, but I'll have to say, if you want to see what collective impact looks like, look at what the Black Child Legacy is doing, because I think they're getting it right. As far as all the partners at the table, the infrastructure that's been able to be built. And one of the key components of that framework is shared goals and accountability. And a key component of the Black Child Legacy campaign is a third-party homicide component, which obviously overlaps directly with the work we've been doing with the Gang Prevention and Intervention Task Force specifically. So we've been able to create some strategic partnerships around trainings, where we can train both the stakeholders in the task force and also service providers in the Black Child Legacy campaign. We've also been able to partner on a crisis response protocol. So when we're responding to shootings in the neighborhood, there's a coordinated effort going on between their service providers and our service providers. We've been able to do some things around community awareness and community engagement. So I just say that to say that we're really excited about the partnership that's been established over this past year. And I think we're doing something right when it comes to collective impact and moving that model to where it becomes real and not just a theory. So with that said, I will go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Chet Hewitt and Dr. Natalie Woods-Andrew, and for them to introduce. We have a short video and then the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the City Council. We are back before you to do our annual report back. As Khalid discussed a little over a year ago, You made an investment in the Reducing African American Child Death Task Force, now rebranded as the Black Child Legacy Campaign. And so we're here to report back to you what the progress has been made over that 13-month period. I'd like to start before we do the formal presentation of the annual report by just thanking you for your investment and your risk-taking in this endeavor. It is a phenomenal effort. I think I explained in our first meeting that it is one of the few efforts in this country that is really focusing on a specific population where there are deep disparities in health that are in effect terminal. This is about life and death. And there aren't any options in that particular agenda. And I think you'll be pleased at what you hear about in terms of the progress that's been made to date. Also, I want to just kind of start with a video, and then I'll explain a little bit about what the video means and why it's really important. Could you tee it up?
So far away from everything that's part of your normal life, there's nothing you can do about those things. New space will bring new thoughts. Sometimes you be somewhere you haven't thought you never had to be someone else.
Some of them living outside of the city. Some youth have never experienced the open, woods and the mountains and experienced some of the activities of canoeing, high roping, low roping, some of the lawn activities that we've experienced.
They came from 7 different communities in Sacramento, but over there they came strong together. Not like that. All neighborhoods that start So here at Black Child Legacy, we work off relationships. Every single area, from the north all the way to the south, have specific individual relationships we use.
We had this activity where it was more like a step forward if we experienced it and realizing that a lot of my sisters have been through a lot of the same experiences that I have. You think there's such a low and then you see other 15 other girls going through the same thing. I took back a lot of sisters from the camp. Lifelong friends.
Got the elders here, we got us in between the elders, us and the youth.
And it's not about just my sister and other mentors and all talking, but also interacting with them and giving them opportunity to talk back to us, to be involved in activities. The activities interactive is not just to sit back and talk about it, just okay,
You never know what someone's actually going through. Like, the camp actually showed me, and then I felt like a safe haven. So, like, hearing everybody, like, they trust me, so it's like, oh, I trust them too. I feel like city life, people are much more about doing their own thing versus the camp. It's like, you just are people who live in their family.
Right here at camp allows us to be very open to them and allow them to be open to without being judged. So Black Child Legacy campaign, they have and we do have goals that set what we want to accomplish, and the money that we're going to help them to do it, and then accomplish that we're going to bring to
You see the video, you can interpret it as simply, a group of kids having a good time at camp. But if you really understand what the Black Child Legacy campaign is about, you would see beyond that and realize that what you witnessed was children from 7 different communities all coming together and learning about the work that needs to be done in their communities, learning about and discussing and offering their ideas about how they can contribute to this particular work, and doing so in a way that isn't emphasizing the fact that I live in Sac and you live in Del Paso, but that we have a common destiny and a common challenge as it relates to the health status of Black children, and that together we can actually make a profound difference in what the disparities that gave rise to this effort look like here in the city of Sacramento. Many of the young people in that video seldomly get beyond the bounds of their own community and see themselves living in isolated pockets around the city. With the support and help of the folks who are standing behind me, who run the Community Incubator Leads, nonprofits selected in 7 sites across this county, 6 of which are in the city of Sacramento, that has been changed in some very profound ways. And what that video really captures is the hope for the future that we see embedded in young people who, when they see themselves as part of something larger than themselves or even their community, have some extraordinary things to contribute to this very, very important conversation. The Black Child Legacy Campaign, come to the next slide, please, and I'll just do a quick refresher before I turn it over to my very capable colleague. And I know it's late in the evening, so please pardon me, but I think you captured the right meaning. This is a very important, very heartfelt work for all of us, and you'll see that in some of the stories that you'll be told. But to quickly recap, the Black Child Legacy Campaign is really a movement working across those 7 environments. Has 4 main components. There was a steering committee, which came out of the Blue Ribbon Commission report that kind of articulated where the disparities were, what they were, how they impacted the city of Sacramento and the county, and where, or the geography in which this was taking place. So as you might recall, 82% of the disparities in black child death took place in 6 communities. We actually made it 7 because we separated to the South Sacramento communities just for a sense of kind of be more effective because of the size of the South Sacramento community as well. We also have community incubator leads. Could the incubator leads stand, please, and be represented? Because these are the real champions of this particular work and the success that we're going to talk about. These are the folks who are doing extraordinary work through their organizations, but I can tell you, having gotten to know each and every one of them, who are personally and profoundly committed to seeing the disparity between mortality rates for black children and children of other races really change. So I want to commend them and thank them for their work, and some of them will be speaking later on as well. We also have what we call a CLR, which is a Community Leadership Roundtable. This is another level of work. There are 20 individuals who are part of the CLR. They have now been trained. They are official crisis responders. They can respond to instances where a person's life has been lost or where there is real jeopardy in the community or threats of harm, as we have in responding to some of the crises at a number of high schools over the year who are doing phenomenal work as well. Many of them were part of that particular experience where the kids were up at camp as well. And then we have the technical assistance providers. You know, as you may recall, that a great part of our work, or the emphasis of our work, was really around building the capacity in communities to take on the challenge of reducing, disparities in health. The initial report that gave rise to this work said that one of the major impediments from being successful, from a disparity that had been in place for over 20 years, right? Over 20 years, you had the same level of disparity for black children, although the numbers of deaths had declined. That the infrastructure that was needed in terms of mobilizing the community had never been built. And I think that your council has a good sense of what that actually means and the enormity of a task of building that infrastructure. Because when I remember in the conversations about whole person care, where the city has taken a lead and is attempting to build a new infrastructure for service delivery, that is a monumental task when you're trying to both deliver services in a new way, at the same time maintain what is out there, even if it's not effective as well. And this has been largely done. Next slide. The campaign is a movement. As I said, it's in 7 neighborhoods. You see the 7 neighborhoods there on your screen. I won't repeat them. It's a targeted but universal approach. It's focusing on the 4 causes of death: perinatal condition, infant sleep-related deaths, child abuse and neglect, and third-party homicides. This notion of targeted but universal, what does that mean? Is that some pithy saying? No, we believe that great policy for black children is great policy for children, period. And I'll give you a story, a true story about our success that's representative of that. One of the things that came out of the commission as related to infant sleep-related deaths, which is one of the largest category of deaths in this particular campaign. we had two individuals who were part of the committee who work for major health providers, Kaiser and Dignity Health, who thought that we should be giving every child born in Sacramento County a safe sleep assessment, because a lot of those deaths are accidental. They're because of poor sleeping conditions for children, as well as issues around, poverty and housing and structure. And there's some cultural issues around this issue as well in terms of how people bond with their children. But we took this particular issue on, and Dr. Nathan Cutts and Diane Galati, who talked to their particular systems, who agreed to do safe sleep assessments for all children born in their hospitals. Not all black children, all children born in their hospitals. Other two major systems heard about this. They joined in, and now there are safe sleep assessments done for all children born in all four major systems hospitals in this particular region. That is a huge systemic and policy change from what existed before, and as you will hear later on in this presentation, has had a real impact in the level of disparity as it relates to infant-related deaths, particularly for African-American children as well. So a huge victory there. Now, every child a new parent who goes through a safe sleeping assessment and who does not have a safe place for their child to sleep will leave that hospital with one for free. All right? It's not county money, it's not programs money. It is the health system stepping up, partnering with the campaign, and working towards system change. And we're very proud of what has happened in a very short period of time. Next slide. We've also been doing, and it's listed up here, 1 through 5, providing new services in communities, wraparound family supports, creating community-based decision-making by engaging community, building an infrastructure that community folks feel comfortable with, and with community institutions have a capacity to serve families, and of course, always creating a social justice youth development opportunities so that young people see themselves as part of this particular work. Currently today, we are now providing services in those 7 community incubator leads. Rather than going to the welfare office, you can apply it if you need food nutrition assistance, at the Southside Christian Center. You can get help finding a job through SETA. You can actually receive probation services in your particular community. If you are involved with the child welfare system, you can actually see your caseworker in those communities as well. We have effectively established a new service delivery system, particularly targeting high-risk families who are less comfortable showing up at traditional county service offices. Again, this is we consider this to be a huge shift in how things were done, focused on getting people to the kind of supports and services they need so that we can reduce the disparity in African-American child death within the county of Sacramento, and again within the city of Sacramento as well, because it is a unique partnership. Those young people are also part of Action Research Team, so they're doing some of the research and helping us learn how to do this work even better, as well through what we call our PAR research agenda, or participatory action research work that we are engaged in. And then lastly, next slide, before Natalie comes to the podium, we have been focused on empowering community and raising visibility about this particular work. We know that sharing the causes and the responses to reducing black child mortality is a very important work. It's why we have green shirts. It's why you have green scarves that we showed you. We hope that you will wear them. Thank you, Councilman Hanson for actually wearing yours behind the dais tonight as well. We are promoting what it means to be safe, right? Wrap yourself in love and wrap your baby in love, and think about where those things are taking place, and how you should treat and think about keeping your children safe. I also want to talk about one thing that I think that, and this kind of hold up, some of the work that's not going to show up in easily quantifiable ways that has been really, really important. And a number of you have been associated with this. You've seen us out at some of the peace walks that are going on in communities, and we've supported them in a number of neighborhoods, with the mayor, with Councilmember Chenier in particular, I know Councilmember Jennings has actually joined some of the peace walks as well, as we deal with the third-party homicide issue in communities as well. Particularly during the summer, we had a spate of deaths that we know we had to be responsive to. So I want to thank you for being a real part of that and showing your support. We have also, found ourselves engaged in work that is very different than what we thought it was going to be. I'll give you a short story to give a sense about what that looks like. There was a shooting in which one young man lost his life that took place in Oak Park over the course of the summer. And we were told that there were 200 young people at UC Davis Hospital who had showed up in response to that shooting. And one of the young men who was shot actually lost his life. And so you have 200 young people without very many adults at a hospital late in the evening, actually early in the morning, because it was about 2 a.m., without any adults there to help provide some guidance for those young people who are dealing with a level of trauma and loss, who could be angry and upset at the same time and perhaps could act out in ways that we know are not conducive to public safety, are not conducive to their own personal safety as well. What I can say is that we had a group of folks who are members of our community response team show up and provide some counseling and conversation and some food to those individuals, got them talking about what was going on, and ensured that what could have turned into additional violent and unsafe environment actually was managed in a way that got everybody home from that hospital without any further incidents, going forward. And I offer that as my final story before Natalie comes to the podium, because not everything that we're doing in this work is easy to capture. Not all of it's going to show up on some balance sheet or some number. We can talk about the 3,000 people that we've served through the CILs in a new delivery system. We can talk about the hundreds of kids' lives that we've actually touched through the Cesar Chavez Park, our Summer of Safety and Well-Being. But there's a lot of this work that is kind of counterintuitive to the way that we think about creating safety. And I think that the work that the Black Child Legacy Campaign is actually doing in terms of building community capacity, getting authentic community folks out there and being part of this work is bearing fruit and will continue to do so in the future. I'll leave it one last detail. Because someone said, focus on impact, Chet, focus on impact. For the first time in over 20 years, the level of disparity around child death for Black children in the infant sleep-related category has actually declined. Not just in total number, but also the level of disparity, which is one of the hardest things to achieve in social policy. Right? We know that over 2013, 14, and 15, 14 children under the age of 17 lost their lives due to sleep-related death. On average, 50% of those children were African American. 2015, and this is not just about our work, there's great work being done by First Five, there is great work being done by CAPC as well. You've seen the percentage of African American children in that number move from 50% down to 21%. So the collection of activity, both in communication, the sharing and inclusion of folks from communities and being very knowledgeable about what needs to change, both on a culture side, but also making cribs and safe spaces available to folks, is really having an impact. In the coming months, you'll see us launch a program to do more around child abuse and neglect, the third category of loss, and increasingly in partnership with the city and with Advanced Peace, beginning to do work around third-party homicides as well. A lot has been done. There's a lot more to do, but we think the partnership is well positioned to be successful.
Question. Thank you, Chet.
You've heard a little bit about some of the global impact that has been made. And so what I'd like to do is just share a little more information in terms of how we are actually implementing the Black Child Legacy Campaign, and share a little bit more about our progress thus far, and also highlight some of those aspects that are really making a difference in our community, and that is highlighted in the annual report that you have. We'd like to just share with you some of the work that we're doing, focus on why we're here. Obviously, it is about our children, Sacramento County's children, specifically African American children that are dying at disproportionate rates than any other child. And so this community-driven movement really has been designed with a specific purpose, specific strategy, and an impact that we know will hit each of the 7 targeted communities that we've identified, but ultimately it's going to impact Sacramento County as a whole. We know that over 100 youth and over 100 adults are volunteering their time to work very diligently and tirelessly on this campaign, and all to save lives of children in Sacramento County. While we have the goal that's identified before you of reducing that rate of 10 to 20% by 2020, ultimately our goal is to eliminate that disparity and to eliminate these deaths that we know are preventable. What I'd like to do is just to highlight some of the implementation strategies and some of the milestones that we are implementing in this work. I think I want to just kind of reiterate what my colleague has mentioned, is that a year ago we didn't have the infrastructure in place here in Sacramento County that we now have. Not all of the work that we're doing is quantifiable, but it's qualifiable in terms of that qualified data and that qualified impact that is being made throughout our community. We truly are impacting at this point, over 3,000 individuals in Sacramento County have been impacted by the services and the resources that have been allocated and distributed throughout our community, focused on the 4 causes of death. We know also that over 500 youth have been engaged and are actively participating in many of the activities that have been spearheaded through the Black Child Legacy Campaign. All of this is happening through these 5 interdependent strategies that are identified on the screen. We think it is really important to make sure that these don't work in isolation. All of them are interdependent, they work with each other, they're all coordinated, and it's something that is coordinated throughout our community. I'd like to just unpack these particular strategies for you and share with you some of the accomplishments. The first is focused on promoting advocacy and policy transformation. And this is our opportunity to really engage our community in thinking about how do we think and interact with each other, and how can we come together as a community to transform the community and make healthier communities throughout Sacramento County. We have 3 accomplishments that I'd like to highlight. One specifically about the Community Leadership Roundtable we've established in the community. We have held about 6 meetings of bringing together each of these community volunteers so that they can continue to hone their skills, so that we can continue to help them develop the knowledge and their abilities to really transform their own communities. These are 20 individuals who are volunteering their time to focus on restorative justice, to make sure that they know how to respond when there is a crisis in their particular community. As Chet has mentioned, we have had many instances where our communities, our families have been impacted, but there's not one particular group that can just jump in and help take charge of the community and of the situation to provide that comfort and that support to the families. This is our opportunity to provide that in a concerted way, to be able to respond through individuals who have been certified and trained to do so. We've also been able to connect this work with our faith leaders, and I think this is a huge success of our community, because although it started with our steering committee and our community incubator leads stepping in to provide the services, we have now engaged the faith community who are now coming together and owning some of the strategies that are being implemented in their particular communities. Some of you have participated in the peace walks, specifically in the Oak Park area. Those are weekly walks that are occurring. Our pastors and our faith community are really taking the lead role and to make sure that we're uplifting the community and lending that support in a concerted way. Our second strategy is focused on equitable investment and systematic impact. And in this particular area, this helps us provide an opportunity to bring our communities and our leaders together in a concerted way. We have accomplished 3 particular areas that I'd like to highlight for you. And one is focused on just developing a countywide evaluation design. Last year, we had an opportunity to bring all of our volunteers together, about 100 people, including our community incubator leads, our community leadership roundtable, as well as some of the cultural brokers and county and city partners, to be trained on results-based accountability. This truly was an opportunity to come together and get on the same page about what it is that we're trying to accomplish and our approach for doing so. We've also had an opportunity to invest some time researching and developing our strategy to implement a cultural broker aspect to our work. We now have cultural brokers throughout our community. We were successful in applying for some funds to make that happen, but we've also had an opportunity to secure some additional funding to make sure that we can provide broader service within our community. We're also working on the Interagency Children's Policy Council with the city to really help determine the most effective strategy in moving forward and bringing not only city and county staff together, but to bring the community of leaders together as a whole to really work on how do we impact our communities through this work. The third strategy is focused on a coordinated system of support. In our community, we've highlighted 7 different groups that are coming together to work on this. But whenever you have individual groups working together, you need to make sure that there is some type of coordinated system to bring them together so that they are on the same page and that they are implementing the strategies with fidelity that we know will truly make an impact in our community. As Chet has mentioned, we do have our community incubator leads that have come together to make sure that they are working together with many agencies. So we've created a hub, if you will, in these particular communities to serve the communities with SETA at the table, probation, DHA, CPS. We have a number of groups coming together so that we have created a one-stop shop, if you will, in the community so that individual families can receive services where they're most comfortable. We know that we have been able to accomplish several different things in this particular area. It's buzzing with work, as we know, and it is our opportunity to, again, to build that capacity through specific teams. So we have not only the community incubator leads, but we've also established the multidisciplinary teams, again, working in collaboration. Oftentimes, each of these entities are working with the same families. They don't know necessarily the services that are being received. So it gives them an opportunity to be co-located to really provide that seamless support and that warm handoff as we are making sure that the families are successful. We have been able also to bring our groups together in what we call the Technical Assistance Resource Center. And this is a center of providing almost like a university type setting for our volunteers. Also through the Profound Purpose Institute, we've been able to provide 100 professional learning hours that these individuals have volunteered their time so that they can build their skills, build their abilities, and to support their colleagues within their communities, building that capacity. Our community incubator leads in each of the 7 neighborhoods have also been able to establish some mini grants within their communities. This has provided really authentic and unique opportunities to customize their services within their community and actually to build some grassroots environments that our families can come together. So for example, in the Meadowview area, they had a need to create a health fair so that the families can come together and learn about many of the resources that were available, not to have to go to specific agency by agency to get that information, but to have it all come together within their communities. We also had in the Fruit Ridge area was another opportunity where a mother who had experienced a loss was able to bring other mothers who were experiencing similar trauma to come together to create that safe haven and that area of support so that they could come together and just support other families in the event that there are others that are experiencing loss. It's just a way, again, to connect the families, connect the communities. We have been able to focus our efforts in these 7 communities that are before you. And these communities, again, have built a strong collaboration with each other. I would say they're highly competitive because they're all about doing their business and wanting to do the best for their community. But when they come together, they know that we're all focused on the same issue, and that is saving the lives of children in Sacramento County. These groups have come together in a very strong way to really make an impact. And as you have heard, they have been able to change their trajectory of the infant sleep deaths that have been impacting our community by receiving specific training, by implementing some of the strategies that they've learned. They are making a difference in their communities. The next strategy is focused on data-driven accountability and collective impact. This work is all about bringing our community together to take ownership in it so that they can truly make that impact in the community. That's how we get sustainability. The accomplishments that we have identified are focused on some of the indicators of quality that have been identified through a quality assessment tool that has been developed through an evaluation work group of the steering committee. This assessment provided an opportunity for us to conduct site visits, but also to sit and do some interviews and have conversations with individuals who are conducting this work. We have been able to utilize 9 different indicators to focus this assessment and then develop quality assessment scorecards that we are able to give to the community leads in order to help develop their strategies and their approach within their community. The sources of this are focused on just staying on the mission, engaging the leadership within their community, also developing those strong partnerships and community engagement. It is also focused on community capacity building and focusing in on our youth. The youth play a critical role in this work, and also making sure that we're doing it in a way that's transparent and fair, developing that communication strategy and data sharing and use within the communities. So as you can see on this particular slide, from December 16th, 2016 through July 2017, there has been significant growth in terms of the work that has happened with each of these community leads as a whole. They started off, as you can see, on the lower end of the spectrum, and they have moved up significantly in a matter of those months to make a difference in their community. So we want to make sure that we highlight the success of this work. It's only the beginning, again, in a way that has not occurred in the past. This data provides us an opportunity to analyze it, to develop systems for providing technical assistance, and focus on capacity building within these communities. These accomplishments I've just highlighted for you are key pieces that we feel is really important that we continue to develop, taking a look at our evaluation of our community incubator leads, making sure that we're monitoring and we're tracking our data to develop what it is that is going to occur next. All of this is over the oversight of the evaluation committee. We've also been able to develop a communications and information system for our particular work. This has been accomplished in several different ways. There's 4 ways that I'd like to highlight for you. This past year, we did launch the Black Child Legacy Campaign, and we did this in a very visible way throughout the community by branding the Black Child Legacy Campaign. We have provided those protocols in a manual to each of our groups that are implementing the strategies. We've also been able to develop a beautiful website that houses all of the information related to the Black Child Legacy Campaign.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, can I ask the speaker how much more she has?
Just a few more slides, and so then we'll turn this over. And so we have been able to make sure that we have not only a county-wide campaign, but also that we are customizing it for each of our communities. We have been able to share this information on several different media outlets, 13 if you will, and then also we have had a number of articles that have been published about the Black Child Legacy Campaign just to continue to build that momentum throughout our community. So I will let Chet just finish us up with the global impact and then also our next steps.
And I'll be very quick. Next slide, please. So what you have before you as a slide is really the summary about where we are. These were some of the metrics that we were using to determine whether we were moving forward. We had a long conversation when you approved your investment in this about what exactly we'd be coming back to talk to you about. And so the summary says around our community leadership roundtable, that is operational. Interracial Children's Policy Council, that is stalled, that is hard work with the county to try to get a group of agencies to sit down and really talk about the status of health for children in Sacramento, both the city and county. We will continue to work on that. The TARC, as we call it, is operational. The multidisciplinary teams, that's your ability to get services across several domains, are operational in those 7 sites in communities. That's going to be very important as we launch Advanced Peace because they're going to be hubs for some of that work. The quality assessments or the evaluatory piece has actually been put into place. It'll use a PAR concept, that's particular action research, so that folks, rather than being studied, will be part of the learning agenda. And we're going to continue to collaborate with CPS around the county's cultural broker program, which is the next level of work, which is to really address child abuse and neglect deaths as well. So good work on prenatal care. We're seeing low birth weight babies. Good work on infant-related deaths. We're seeing declines in the disparities and the number of African Americans as a represented group. Ongoing work to start soon around CPS. And then when Advanced Peace starts, the 4th leg of that stool, which will really be around third-party homicides. So in a little over 13 months, we've built a lot of infrastructure. I know it's a long report, but there is a lot of work that's actually been done. Last slide. Next steps, we're going to continue to do the peer-to-peer assessments. We're not just giving away money, we're actually charting how groups are actually improving their ability to be effective. We'll continue to develop the crisis response efforts. We know how important that was over the past summer when we had a spate of shootings and a loss of life. The non-traditional campaigns, which you are all a part of, so thank you again for wearing your scarves. The social justice action piece, which will continue, and of course, number 4 and number 6 on the screen, the cultural broker efforts and the data hub, which we're building as well, which will help us do a fuller and more thorough evaluation of the work. Just want to thank the teams who are here from Valley High, Arden Arcade, Del Paso, Oak Park, North Highlands, Fruit Ridge, Stockton, and of course, Meadowview. They are the champions of this work. They deserve the credit. As I said earlier, bringing passion and commitment to the work. That's what's driving our success. And the steering committee, which is still up and active, which is will continue to play a leadership role, particularly in our interface with the county, to make sure the work that we started continues in the years ahead. We are about to enter year 3. You have been a partner for about 13 months. We think that years 4 and 5 will continue to see ongoing progress and expect to be able to hit that 10 to 20% reduction in the disparity over that 5-year period of time. I'll stop there, and both Natalie and I will take and respond to any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much. Chad, I know I have a few, but we do have 9 people who have come to testify.
So my first speaker for comment is Mac Worthy, then Elaine Murphy-Hagan, and Jackie Rose.
Back. This is the fourth item. I guess it's the final item, so you've timed it well.
You hear a lot, and you learn a lot. A lot of stuff you hear don't mean nothing. You're drowned in paperwork. I come in contact with CL Foundation when Sunrise Shopping Center first was built. I had to contract McCurry Camp, but it's another world. Then we look at some things of leadership. People, black people, wake up. Nobody's your leader unless you choose them. You got to choose a leader. If just somebody comes and says, this is your leader, that's a waste of time. When I had talked to Ida Sitner about teenage here through the NAACP, sending that blood work or what medicine they own to Tuskegee for testing, nobody come forward. When we try to show people where this thing have moved, earmark, the money. Now we see the gang people is involved. Now, it's a case I'm going to be working on soon. Go back to the old thing I showed you. Why are we still here? Why are we still here? Because black people wasn't proud of their nationality. I stay a Negro. I'm no African American. I don't know nothing about African American. I'm a American Negro. I just as in South Carolina to my white relatives. So what we are doing, we are playing a game with black babies. Now, in the mountains, that's a game you're playing with them. When I was 14 years old, on a Saturday morning, I was taking my daddy's shotgun and shoot a rabbit, and I know the white folks would buy my rabbit if there's not a lot of shots in it. Where did that come from? My mother never learned to read and write. 10 of us babies survived. I came here and went into business myself. Where was y'all? I don't understand, where the money, earmark the money, and you will see a change. Let us have the information on the people in the neighborhood that's receiving the money. If they're on a 501c3 or 501c4, you should have a copy of that finance situation here. Dale, this is
your time's up.
No, this is your letdown, Dale. That's what you had to
sorry. Thank you.
Because this is garbage.
Okay. Thank you.
Next speaker is Elaine Murphy Hagan, and then Jackie Rose.
Alianne Murphy Hassan. I'm here. I was hesitant to speak tonight, but I felt compelled. The NAACP has been involved with this project from the beginning, under past two presidents and currently under our current president, Betty Williams. This project has been, I have been a part of programs that have been funded and the funder. I want to take this opportunity, too, to recognize the staff of Sierra Health, Kendra and Madeline, who are hardworking folks. I mean, this lady gets called at 2 o'clock in the morning because there's some stress in the community, and she goes. She goes. No hesitancy about getting out there in the community. When she's called, she goes. I appreciate that. As a part of the steering committee, I try to make a lot of the training opportunities that they provide to the CILs, and I tell you, it is fascinating, it is heartbreaking, it is enduring. I get so emotional about this project because I'm with an agency that cares. They actually care about the community. It's not just giving people money and then it's done. It's giving people money and staying involved. Your money is well invested. If you haven't been out to any of the CILs, I invite you to go out to see what it looks like, to see what it feels like, to see what it smells like. Because when you do that, you come to know this project. Thank you for this evening and time to support.
Our next speaker is Jackie Rose, and then Tanya Bean Garrett.
Good evening again, Mayor and council members. My agency, Focus on Family, is the lead agency for Black Child Legacy Campaign for Meadowview. And like Alianne just said, I really do encourage you guys to come out to the CILs and see what we're doing. We just had a providers luncheon in November where we had 100 providers come to our site to be educated on the Black Child Legacy Campaign. Now, all of those providers have signed up with us to come on board to assist us in this campaign and help us do this work. We have that social worker, we have that probation officer, we have those services readily available. All of the principals in Meadowview have now come on board, and they're having their counselors at their schools make those referrals to us for those most at-risk African-American families. We're really excited. I'm passionate about this campaign. It is, again, there is a lot of accountability. Your money is well spent because we are basically being held accountable for everything that we do. We are being really assessed on every little thing. So I would just encourage you to come out and see, because it is really making a difference in those 7 areas. And all of us are working collectively together. It's not just a Meadowview thing. It is a Del Paso thing. It's a Foothill Farms thing. It's everywhere in the city and county of Sacramento. So I want to really thank you for your investment into this campaign. Thank you.
Next speaker is Tanya Bean Garrett, and then Stephen Garrett.
A little short here. Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to speak. So I'm representing Fruitbridge Stockton area. I'm a advocate neighbor of committee of Fruitbridge Stockton, and I also represent Oak Park. I'm not only a victim, but I am a survivor. My son was killed in June of 2016. He was a Sac High student, better known as Nutter. Destin Garrett is his name. So on behalf of Black Child Legacy, it allowed me to not only heal, but just to see a lot of things that were going on that I kind of missed, that I didn't really see in the neighborhood. You hear it, but you don't see it. So I just want to thank this program for just allowing me to be able to just stand here and to be a part of this program. And not only that, it's allowing me to help other mothers, which I really don't want to do, but it's happening. And also, I've also been able to start my own nonprofit organization, 21 Reasons, to allow me to be able to bring a lot of good, positive things in the neighborhood, and in order to see some of these things that are happening. So in order for this, just in order for me to keep going, it's because of this program that I'm allowed to be in. And I just want to thank you, and that's it.
Our next speaker is Stephen Garrett, and then Les Simons.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and honorable members of the council. I'm Steve Garrett, acting Sacramento County Public Defender, and I'm honored to be a member of the steering committee. I know it's a late evening. I'm going to try and be very quick because you've heard from a lot of people. I just want to tell you what an honor and responsibility it's been to be included with this group and to be a member of the steering committee. The enthusiasm, the talent, and just the energy you see from all the people involved is really something that I found extraordinary, and it's been heartwarming to be involved with, to see what they're doing and what we're all contributing towards. The city has, the money the city has provided here is sponsoring positive change in a community, and you've already heard what some of it is. I have personally witnessed how much love many of these people have for the community. For example, when talking about the incident we've heard mentioned regarding the shooting, and to watch the tears and the pain, and to watch people honestly trying to de-escalate situations and to be successful at that. And there is an incalculable value in what is being done with this group here. And I would just say that I've seen great partnership with business, government, and faith-based communities. It's been really amazing to see. And I've personally witnessed great work being done at, not to take away from other areas too, where great work's being done, but at Liberty Towers and South Sacramento Christian Center. I've seen them do just great things there. It's a value for the community. I believe that you've spent money wisely for the citizens here. And I'd say in closing that
thank you.
We're on the side of angels here. Thank you.
The next speaker is Les Simmons, and then Cassandra Jennings.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor
Pastor. How you
and the
doing?
rest of the council. I know it's late, so I'll be very, very quick. I'm going to ask a few of my community partners to join me. Barry Axius from Voices of Youth, and then one of our youth participatory research. Rachel, come up and join me as well. I'd like to thank you for your support for this work. It's life-saving work. It is the work that we're committed to doing and are getting it done. And you're wearing the scarves. Thank you so much for wearing these. We'll be wearing these this Monday as we march for the MLK March meeting up at Sac City this upcoming Monday. So if you want to come and show, some solidarity with us, you can rock the scarves as well. I know I have mine on, but I also like to just, again, thank you for your work as well as in supporting Urban Peace Academy. I've been around long enough to go through that training twice. We had it before now, and it wasn't a direct plug-in, but we just went through that training last year thanks to you guys in the Mayor's Gang Task Force, Khalid as well. And as a result of that, there's direct plug-ins to put violence interrupters within the community, within the 7 different sites spread out throughout Sacramento, that when a shooting happens, when violence happens, there's some trained folks out there, first responders, that not only go to the scene of the incident, not only go to the hospitals, but work to actively interrupt violence from happening after that by social media, by connecting with law enforcement and getting what their pulse is, by connecting back to the community. So I'd like to just thank you for your work, your support in the work that we're doing and saving the lives down in Sacramento. God bless. Thank you, guys.
Could I ask Pastor Simmons a question?
Yeah.
Just a quick question. So I get 9 o'clock at City College, but there'll be many of us at 8 o'clock at the Oak Park Community Center. Just want to personally invite you there.
Yeah,
I'll
so
be wearing the green.
I'll walk with you too, and maybe we'll walk together from there back to City as well, and I'll have mine on. Thanks a lot.
There.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Cassandra Jennings in the Roberts Family Development.
No, Tina Roberts is next. Cassandra, and then Tina.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. You have certainly heard great testimony. I just want to say it's a pleasure for the Urban League to be a part of the Oak Park CIL. It gives us a really opportunity to be on the streets, in the community, and loving on the community. And you can see good results from that. It requires us to be on the streets, and that's where we are. So you've heard about some of our examples. We all do support each other, and we come together, and I think it's a huge network that you have in our community. I will say that some of the many grants that we do, because it's all about empowering the people and the people in that community and the organizations. We're working with the barbershops. We're working with Fresher Sac to deal with families with babies and pregnant women. We're working with WellSpace. We are touching people that we say that are hard to reach and hard to keep, but we love them. They're part of our community. They're awesome people, and we need to save lives, and so we are doing that, and we thank you very much for your support and your encouragement. Thank you.
Thank you, Cassandra.
Mrs. Roberts?
Good evening again. Roberts Family Development Center has the privilege of being the incubator in North Sac and Del Paso Heights, and we are housed at the Greater Sacramento Community, Greater Sacramento Urban League. I'm sorry, I'm just so, what's the word? Happy right now.
Good.
And I tell you why. I've literally been doing this work for 20 years. That's not to brag, but just the thought that you all understand the investment. And when we invest in our underserved community, when we invest in those who need more than others, and when we do that collectively as a city, as a county, we're really all public servants. And that just makes me really happy and really excited to say that I live in a city where we have real public servants, not just the ones who are elected, but the ones that are here as well.
Yes.
And so, thank you.
We all play our part. That's what it takes. That's what it takes.
The last speaker is the Arden Arcade CIL.
Come on up. Thank you for your patience and welcome.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for having us. My name is Brandy. This is Molly. We represent the Art and Arcade CIL.
And this gentleman? Brian?
Brian. So Brian works with CPS. I work with DHA, Department of Human Assistance. And Molly is...
I work for Mutual Assistance Network.
Yes, but she works with the youth as well. So anyway, Black Child Legacy has done big things for Art and Arcade, and you could just start to see it blossom in our community. Me working for the county, I have noticed a difference in being able to help the families that we serve. Working for Department of Human Assistance, you're limited on the access and the things that you can help them with. But with Black Child Legacy, it opens so many doors to help families when they're more in crisis and just support them where they're needed the most. So thank you.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for the work that you're doing, more importantly. We really appreciate it. That's the public testimony. I want to ask one question of Chet, if I may. This is just one. This is such fabulous, important, and in-depth work. And so I know, knowing you and knowing the coalition, that you will come back to us at some appropriate point and ask for the city's continued participation in sustaining and expanding this. And we look forward to that and doing the very best we can, obviously. So here's the question. I was thinking about advanced peace, right? And that very intensive initiative, and that it is many things, but one of the things it represents is, if you look at the history of the Mayor's Gang Task Force started by my predecessor, that it started out as a $1 million or so program giving a number of small grants to a number of providers to do a variety of work. And so now what we're doing is some of that, but we are focusing, and I may be wrong on the number, but about half of the city's money and allocation on this very intensive focus on reducing gun violence through advanced peace. So it begs sort of the same question for me, that as this initiative continues, given resources, right, which we will push and stretch and do everything that we can, is the intended direction to focus on one or two things in a larger way to have a bigger impact, or is it to continue? And I'm not saying I have a point of view necessarily, or is it to spend the money and spread it out among a number of these initiatives and indicators that you're trying to affect in a positive way? It's more of a philosophical question, but it's important because I struggle with that. Do we do one thing really, really well? Like, obviously, infant death syndrome would be one where you could understand it. Let's do that and take the number to zero. What's the philosophical answer, direction in terms of where this goes in the future?
I think that there are ways of thinking about, what your emphasis is over a given point of time, as opposed to whether it should be one thing or another. I think that we have done really good work with some of our healthcare providers around perinatal conditions. I think we have done really good work around our infant sleep-related deaths, with a lot of great work being done by First Five and others. So I don't know that those things are off the table, but I think that we have got to begin to shift to some of the things where we are not doing as much good work. I'll give you a statistic. In the 13-14 child death report that was produced, about 66% of the young people who lost their lives due to third-party homicide were African American or men of color. In 15, it was 100%. That's moving the wrong direction, right? So we know that while we will celebrate some of the successes that we've had, that we now need to shift our emphasis onto those areas where we have been doing less well. And that's not a complaint. That's not because of a lack of trying. Some of those things are bigger than any one system or institution could address. But we know we need to do that. So I think a more direct answer to your question would be, I think there are two areas that we want to work. It's not one, but there are two. Child abuse and neglect, and third-party homicides.
Okay, so more focus as we move forward. Thanks. Answers the question. Appreciate it. We do have members who want to speak. Councilmember Schenier.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I know it's late. I want to congratulate you, Chad, and all of you who have been working on this. And you know, I know that in my area, for example, the Urban League has established quite a presence with this, and we meet every Friday night and take our walks, which I think is great, and I think people in the neighborhoods really appreciate it. We're not doing a whole lot other than saying hello, we're here if we can help, but just the fact that we're doing that, I think, has made a significant difference in the neighborhood. A couple things that really stand out. One is building infrastructure for the long term. So this is not, as many initiatives are, we'll be here today, we'll do a couple things, and then we're going to move on to something else. So it's very much appreciated that this is really about the sustainability of the work, and I think that's incredibly important. I'm excited about on the piece that you have changed behavior of these hospitals for all babies, which is just an amazing thing to be able to do. And I think it's really something that we should look at, because kids are kids. Our youth is our youth, or are our youth overall, and what works for one will work for many. I believe, as we've had this discussion many times, all kids are at risk, and I think we need to do better. I think that there are places where, as the city is moving forward, and this, I'm kind of picking up a little bit on what the mayor said about what your ask is going to be. My ask would be for me and what we're doing, as we've just, adopted our youth development strategy, as we've created a Department of Youth and Parks and Services, or community engagement. There's a number of things that we can do that I think there's a lot of good that can be done working together. Members Carr and Jennings and I and others have talked about creating youth action teams in all of our neighborhoods, and I saw that was something that you're kind of looking at on the social justice. We shouldn't duplicate that if we can. So I just think that there's lots of places we can work together on this, but I just want to give you, and thank you for all the pictures on Grizzly Ranch. Brought back lots of good memories from all of our camps up there. But again, I just want to say thank you. It's really good work that you've been doing, and I love the fact that you're looking deeply at all of the pieces around continuous improvement and where you need to go next. So thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Okay, Vice Mayor Jennings.
8 o'clock, guy.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to stop to say, I think it was Jackie Rose who said, come to the CSLs and CILs and see what we're doing. And I encourage all those who haven't had the opportunity to do that to do so. But I just want to let you know that not only have I come to the CILs and seen what you've done, but every single day I see the impact of what you're doing in the community, every single day. I get the phone calls from different members throughout the community telling me about the first responders who are out there in the community that are touching lives and making a difference and helping those other crises that could arise as a result of the crisis that they're responding to. But you can see the impact every single day, and the community is thankful to you, and we're thankful for you. And I just want to stop for a second and say to the steering committee, the consultants, Sarah Health Foundation, Chet, yourself, and everybody else, the CILs that are involved in this whole process. We've been doing this now for 3 years, and you can see the impact. You can see the infrastructure that has been built. You can see the difference that it's making in our community, and you're starting to change policy. You're starting to change the direction and the death rates, and you're starting to have the kind of impact that we knew you'd have when you got started. But we're seeing it, and I know that we're going to reach our goal by 2020 to get to that 10 to 20% reduction. I know that because you got the right partners at the table. They are working collaboratively together. They are in the areas that need it the most, and they are making a difference. And we see it, and we feel it, and we see it in the numbers and everything we're doing. So I'm glad that the city has made the investment that it's made. I'm hoping that it will continue to make this kind of investment, because we can see these kind of results for years to come. And I think you've set the infrastructure that will help us to not only do it here in Sacramento, but show how others can do it throughout the country.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick. Vice Mayor.
It's fine. I just wanted to add a couple comments. First of all, Mr. Carr, thank you, because it was you who championed this with us when it came to us last year. And I know this has been a labor of love, not only for you, but obviously for many others. But everybody needs a leader. Everybody needs a leader on things like this. And earlier, you were very gracious about talking about the things I work on, and I think this is a really big opportunity to thank you for spearheading this. And it was about the money at the time and making us put in our fair share of the money, because this was outside of what we normally would do, because we don't generally do social services and the kind of things that we're talking about here. But I think, Chet, you've always talked about partnerships, and Clede talked about collective impact. And when you look just at this room tonight, and I'm just floored at the patience of all of you being with us through some minutia and through some of our own stuff, but that you stuck through it is a testament to how much you truly care, not just about being here for the meeting, but by really helping your community. And that you can call partnerships or collective impact. I think of it as leadership, and in particular, because many of you are doing it on behalf of your community, this is servant leadership in the truest form of that saying. And so I'm really excited to see the progress, how complex and thoughtful it's been. I don't think I've seen that many slides ever in a presentation to the City Council. But I will say I am better for it, and we are better for it. Because now we understand the method and the thinking, and as you make progress, other people who come to us, we're going to say, you need to do it like the Black Child Legacy Campaign did it, because they did it right. And so it really is a legacy, so thank you.
Very good. We thank everybody really for your patience in staying the entire meeting. And like I said, I think this is the most significant part of the night because of its impact on real people, real communities, and real lives. So thank you, and we will look forward to further discussion and action. Thank you so much. Good. Yeah, you are free to leave. You were free to leave before, if you wanted to, but thank you so much.
Come walk with us on MLK Day.
Oh, you better believe it. Rarely miss it. Can't wait. Okay, council ideas and questions. I do have one, which is the appointment of members to various boards and commissions. And I know I have spoken to all of you about it, appropriately one way or another, and we lay it out here. I think the one change that I just want to highlight is that I want to thank Vice Mayor Jennings very much, always be Vice Mayor, Councilmember Jennings, for his service on the RT board. Believe me, he will come back to that board sooner than later. In the meantime, I am going to leave open a slot here to appoint a member of the private sector to the RT board. I don't know who yet. I want to have a open selection process, but I just think it's very important as we grow this city that we have some private sector representation on the Regional Transit Board. And so I look forward to your input and beginning that process. We got Councilmember Harris.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Some of you may have read an article in the Bee this last weekend about a homeless gentleman who was released from Dignity Health at Woodland Hospital, transported to the River District, and as the article said, dumped in front of Union Gospel Mission. Of course, this is rather an alarming situation and pretty much intolerable. So I didn't really take the veracity of the article at face value, and I've contacted Dignity Health to discuss the situation. I already started the conversation, and I intend to continue it because, you know, it's just simply not an acceptable condition for any organization to take a destitute homeless person and drop them with no resources, no bed, at the end of the day. So it was a bad set of circumstances, but like I said, sometimes what you see on the surface isn't exactly what happened. So I hope to bring back a report on that to the council next week.
Good.
Alan Warren had to take off to do something for his daughter, so he asked me to read his comments. So, number one, North Sacramento Martin Luther King March, Monday, January 15th, 2018 at 7:45 p.m. So people will gather at Grant Union High School, 1400 Grand Avenue. They'll carry on down to Del Paso Boulevard, round to Northwood, and circle back to Grant High. That starts at 7:45 a.m. So an early walk for Martin Luther King up there in North Sacramento. And then directly following that is the North Sacramento Wellness Expo. Same day, starts at 11 a.m. at Grant Union High School. And basically, it's a expo, a community wellness expo themed Mind, Body, Soul community. It will take place, as I said, at that place and time. Last year, North Sacramento Collaborative Partnership, comprised of many community organizations, had the vision to host an MLK neighborhood march that would begin at Grant High School and return to the start of the expo. We will feature a diva market, health screenings and services, mammograms, educational resources, and financial literacy. So great services up there. And as far as District 3, I guess that's all my announcements there. So
Okay.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Member Jennings.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Last weekend, last Saturday, the Pocket Area Congregations Together, otherwise known as the PAC, came together with park volunteers and D7 constituents to help to beautify Seymour Park. And they did a great job. I mean, we picked up tons of leaves, and just made that park look a whole lot better than it did, you know, with this time of the year. So I just want to give a big shout out to all those who came out and spent a day with us volunteering to clean up the park. And we hope that we can do that again and count on them to do more. As you know, Mayor, we've been having budget town halls throughout the city of Sacramento. And I believe this is the last one that we'll have. It'll take place Wednesday, the 10th, that's tomorrow, from 6 to 7:30 at the John F. Kennedy High School in their little theater. This is an opportunity for a discussion on the city's 2018-2019 budget, and we want to make sure we hear your voice and get your ideas on where you think money should be spent and or other ideas as well. And then finally, we're going to have District 7 office hours. It's going to take place on Thursday, January the 11th at Prairie Elementary School from 6 to 7 p.m. These are office hours so that you don't have to come to City Hall and get a ticket when you come down here and try to find parking and all that. I mean, we'd love for you to come down to City Hall, but in case you just want to stay in your community, we take City Hall to your neighborhood, and we're going to do it at Prairie Elementary School from 6 to 7 on Thursday, the 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Two requests. One, and Councilmember Harris and I are a little bit on the same page with this. I'd like to ask the City Attorney's Office to look at remedies and options related to the dumping of unhoused people from medical institutions and local correctional institutions, not only in the River District, but it seems like it's been apparent in other places as well. Several years ago, we participated in a lawsuit that the City and County of San Francisco initiated that actually had to do with a similar situation, somebody dumped from an institution in Las Vegas in Sacramento. And so, you know, we hear about this. It's tragic for the people that it happens to, and I believe that we need some options to provide care for those folks and a recourse for those institutions that participate in that unfortunate treatment of those folks. The second thing is for the city manager. Mr. City Manager, until about 2013, we had a regional human rights and fair housing commission that provided rental assistance and worked with landlords. And today and over the course of the last year plus, we've been hearing about problems related to rent increases and displacement and unfair treatment of tenants. Well, the Regional Human Rights for Housing Commission is being unwound. I'd like to, especially prior to mid-year, have you look into options for community organizations that can provide similar work to what the commission did, so that we have an option as a council in helping some of our constituents who are experiencing rental problems, whether that's landlord-tenant issues, legal issues, or just need advice. Thanks.
Councilman Carr.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm saddened to recognize the passing of Mrs. Kay Mitchell. Ms. Mitchell was the First Lady of Antioch Progressive Church, and she was also one of the founders of HELPS, which is Healthy Environment, Loving Parents Services. And HELPS is a foster family agency, and she served as the CEO of that organization from 1991 to 2015. Ms. Mitchell was the husband of Pastor Curtis Mitchell, pastor of Antioch Church. She passed away on New Year's Day after a long illness. Services will be this Saturday, January the 13th at 11 at Antioch Progressive Church, 7650 Amherst Way. That's 11 a.m., January the 13th at Antioch Progressive Church. She came to Sacramento with Pastor Mitchell when he was selected pastor of Antioch in 1986. And I'd like to adjourn the meeting in her honor.
Of course, thank you very much. If we might add to that, adjourn in memory, we'd also like to adjourn in memory of Kelly T. Mizuno, who was the late husband of our Assistant City Clerk Stephanie Mizuno, who passed away over the holidays. Young man, and a real tragedy. And I know the services are this Sunday, and your whole city family, Stephanie, is thinking about you, praying for you, and we're here for you. Okay? Thank you very much. Is there anything else?
I have a few board and commission appointments to read into the record. The first, the mayor appointment roster was passed out at the dais. There's only two changes. The mayor and board chair forum core group subcommittee will be the mayor and vice mayor, the new vice mayor, Mr. Hanson. And
big.
then
I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's big.
And then as Mayor Steinberg announced, the regional transit board, Vice Mayor Jennings will not be appointed. That will be open until we locate a private sector person to appoint. Lastly, to the Planning and Design Commission.
Madam Clerk, just on that one, for the sake of the governing board, it might be helpful until it's filled to have Mr. Jennings continue until it's filled, just in case.
Yeah, that's great, of course. You know, God, I want to really be clear. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better member than this man. This is, we are working this in concert here because we want to get, we want to get some private sector representation on the RT board. And I just really appreciate Rick's, team play as always on this.
Perfect.
The way it's put is important.
So Councilmember Jennings will remain on the RT board until a private sector member is determined. And then to the Planning and Design Commission, Council District 6, Nicolina Hernandez, and to the Sacramento Youth Commission, Council District 3, Violet Wright.
Okay. Oh, Violet Wright, good. Okay, good. Thank you for a thorough meeting. Very good. Welcome back, everybody. We're adjourned.